Treksploration.
Hello, Treksplorers, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris, blown away once again by Albie's monstrous energy. It must be the drink.
It is monstrous energy. Literally had to psych myself up. I had to get hype so I can stay hype for tonight. Having a little trouble at the station tonight. Electronics are blowing up. Things are going off. Luckily, I didn't install the flamethrowers and those sparklers that Disco has on the bridge. How many flamethrowers do they have on that bridge?
You know what? I was going to point that out. We haven't discussed the equidistant flamethrowers all over that bridge. That has bugged me since season 1. Holy crap. What is that about? Also, what kind of starship design is it where there is actual open flame venting onto the bridge?
Onto the bridge. Sparklers, like nonstop sparklers from the ceiling. When the consoles blow up, rocks and dirt fly out. It's just
they blow up real
insane.
good. Well, that's a Starfleet tradition.
It is. And is the whole ship supposed to be doing this, or does this only happen on the bridge all the time? Because you never really see it other places. Know what?
I hope it's only on the bridge because everybody seems to be pretty centered on the bridge, so it can really happen behind them for effect. But
can you imagine you're in your bunk and flamethrower?
You're right, or walking down the corridor, and all of a sudden there's a wall of fire, and it's like that Next Gen episode that we just saw. With the pretty
no one has
ballerina.
gone before.
Yes.
So today we're talking about Discovery Season 5, Episode 9 and 10, the 2-part series finale, Lagrange Point and Life Itself. So that's why we're here.
Double show. Double
disco duo. Not sure what we're going with yet, but it's a 2-parter. We watched Lagrange Point, and for me, I don't know if you agree, but I messaged you. It seems like a part 1 of a 2-parter. There's no real resolution, and it's kind of like a dun dun dun. Maybe or maybe they just decided to cut the longer episode into 2 somewhere, and that's where they picked.
Yeah, I feel like that was a natural ending point for it. Like, I think we all knew that's where it was going to end, and it was fine. But it was kind of like the lesson that we learned from week 2 or week 3, when we decided, even after we had seen an episode, we missed a week, and it was almost impossible for us to talk about that episode separately. It was episodes 1 and 2, I think.
Yeah.
We tried to do them separately. They should have been done together. Because I flaked last week, we should have done Lagrange Point last week, and we should be talking about Life Itself this week. But I ghosted everybody and, had a life.
I flaked too. So, I went to Disney World. Rennie and I went to Disney World for my birthday, a little bit early. But we celebrated. Birthday. And then, of course, when I came back, I had some oral surgery that I needed, and that knocked me down for a good 4 or 5 days. So,
yeah. So
back on top
anyway.
Now.
We're learning, unlike Disco, we're learning from the mistakes of our past, and we are going to do this as one grand finale episode, 2 episodes in one, two episodes in one.
Yeah, so we might get it all confused, but in my brain, it's mostly one story. It's a chunk, and
it's one story-sode.
Yeah, and so we might get our 1 and 2 mixed up, but we'll just go through it as a whole. Because
I hate it when I get my 1 and 2 mixed up.
Anybody who's watching this has seen both of them, presumably. So let's see. What do we do first, Chris? Let me read the episodes out here. Lagrange Point, original air date May 23rd, 2024, written by Sean Corcoran. Okay. Directed by Jonathan Frakes. Hey, I know that name.
Frakes.
Fact or fiction? Not sure. Okay. Life Itself, original air date May 30th, 2024, written by Kyle Jarrow and Michelle Paradise, directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi.
Olatunde Osunsanmi.
Yes.
I can never say Olatunde's name. I'm so sorry.
I appreciate
Kyle Jarrow.
He seems like a cool dude.
Anyway.
All right. And and also we have coming up. Would you like to tell people what we got coming up as part of this episode?
They're Big doings. So, for anyone who is familiar with our Patreon tiers, we have a tier of captain, and part of the privilege of the rank of captain on our Patreon community is to be part of a captain's roundtable. And we are premiering our first captain's roundtable tonight with Captain Charles from Texas. So,
Captain Charles.
everybody, salute Captain Charles. And
it was so nice to meet Captain Charles. I can't wait till everybody gets to meet him.
Yeah, terrific guy. And we recorded that last night. We're recording this tonight. So it's just so great that we were able to do that. Charles was really excited. He had a lot of good stuff to bring to the table, so to speak. So you guys want to stay tuned for that. Probably 2/3 of the way through. We'll throw to it. You won't miss it. We'll throw to it. Just keep watching. It'll come.
Yes. Before one of the 16 endings we'll have.
I don't know. Did this one have more endings, or did Lord of the Rings have more endings? I'm trying to figure out which is which.
I've only made it halfway through part 1 of Lord of the Rings. I'm really trying to decide. My birthday coming up by this Saturday.
2 days. Yeah. 2 days.
They're playing Fellowship of the Ring. I think that's the first one. And then the day after that, they're playing the second one. Day after that, they're playing the third one at the movie theater, all extended editions. So all in, it's like 15 hours, I think, at the movie theater in 3 days.
That's a lot.
But it's on my birthday. But it's like, if I don't do it now, will I ever do it? I own the 4K Blu-rays. Haven't opened them.
Well, you know, it's funny because the extended editions of Lord of the Rings are on Max now. So I have a 4K TV. I'm watching them in 4K on Max. I know that you turn your nose up at that because it's not physical media. So I'm sure even though it says 4K, it's not true 4K because it's a streaming product. I would probably need a
pretty good
player. Yeah, it's fine for me. It's fine for this boy. But
you don't got the 135 inch.
Did you? It's a little too much for me. You're a size queen. I really. I'm wondering though, did you enjoy Fellowship? I mean, is that your bag?
I watched the first half a couple times. Tried to get through it. There's people walking. I think I tuned out when the trees were walking.
That's the second movie. That's Two Towers. Yeah, with the ends.
It's hard to tell. I don't know.
The first half of the first book ends when they get to Rivendell, and then the second half of the first book begins with the Council of Elrond when they decide to take the ring to Mount Doom to destroy it. And Frodo takes on the quest, and that's the Fellowship. It's the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, and that's what their whole mission is. So if you saw up to that, that's the first half of the first film. If you've seen beyond that, you've seen beyond the first film. Did you see them all get separated? Did you see the breaking of the Fellowship, which is the last chapter in Fellowship of the Ring?
I don't think so.
No? I'm going to spoil Lord of the Rings here. You didn't see Boromir get killed?
Is that Liv Tyler? I know she was in there.
That's Sean Bean Boy.
I like all the actors. I like the director. You know, Peter Jackson does some great work. You know, I've liked all his other stuff. So is it worth a 15-hour investment?
To me, yes, but you have to remember I've been reading those books since I was a tween, and it was a grand event in my head when I saw everything on the screen. It was just like, to this day, Fellowship of the Ring still blows me away because it tracks very closely to everything that I've always had in my mind's eye, but improved on it a millionfold. So I might not be the right guy to ask.
Okay, how do you feel about Dune? Because I watched Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, and I didn't understand it. I was just like, nothing happened.
I'm throwing bombs out here. I read Dune. I was probably hitting 30. I think I read Dune in 2000. It was like one of those seminal science fiction works that everybody talked about. And I finally read it, and I was so underwhelmed by everything Dune that I was just like, what is the big deal with this book? So I have no love of Dune. I would not recommend reading the book. I would not recommend sitting through a 2-part adaptation of said book. I'm not the guy to talk to about that.
But Lord of the Rings is better.
Yes, to me, it is.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yes,
Dune.
yes.
It was just like, oh, cool, Batista. Oh, cool, Zendaya. Oh, I did. Okay, it's to be continued. Maybe the story's in the second part. Watch the second part. I was like, what happened? I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
That's 6 hours.
even people who are Dune fans, my friend Rick, who I've mentioned on the show
Mhm.
before, he's kind of a Dune fanatic, and he loves Dune. And I believe even he said amongst him and his Dune friends, like if you don't know the books, you have no clue what's going on in the movie because they don't expound on anything, right? So is that true?
I would say yes. I would say there's visually beautiful. Sound was great. The actors were cool. Just I don't know what happened. They were just walking around again. A lot of walking around in these
I got to
movies.
tell you, I mean, that's one thing about fantasy. It's a
Yeah.
lot of walking. It's a lot of walking.
My brain has always had trouble understanding fantasy for some reason or getting absorbed into it, understanding it. I always need that like how it
Well,
works and why it works to logically make sense. And the whole hand wavy magic, it's difficult for my brain.
Well,
I don't know why.
it depends. I mean, there is magic in Lord of the Rings in the form of Gandalf and Saruman, and the ring is magic, obviously.
Mhm.
But most fantasy novels do have a framework in which the action takes place and rules for their environment, rules for their magic that they stick to, and
Okay.
those are always like that's part of the world building. Like if you're a big fat fantasy fan, like I am, like Fantasy Fan, who was actually written to me
Lieutenant
regarding Lord
Commander.
of the Rings, Lieutenant Commander Fantasy Fan.
Yes.
Obviously, it didn't even connect with a Fantasy Fan, duh. So of course he would know when I
Oh.
was talking about Wheel of Time. He
Mm.
chimed in on it. I don't think we've read that on the show yet. We'll get to it the next time because it was in response to Lonely Among Us. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And we haven't done a show since Lonely Among Us. So Fantasy
Yeah.
Fan did write about Big Fat Fantasy, and
Oh, cool.
he
Cool.
and me will get you into fantasy
I hope
sometime
to.
before the end of the run of Treksplorration.
The way I look at fantasy is like I look at seafood. Like I can't enjoy it, but I wish I could.
Hey, you enjoy Star Wars?
I do, and that's fantasy.
That's
So
that's high fantasy.
yes,
Star
and I
Wars is
enjoy
high
that.
fantasy. Yep.
Before I understood about the author, I enjoyed the Harry Potter movies, but now, of course, I'm over that. Don't want to give that woman any more of my money, but that's another story.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, so if you want to read the original Harry Potter, I would recommend one of my favorite books of all time, A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin, and read the entire Earthsea sequence. There are 6 books.
Ooh, I've
in
heard
all.
of that. I think my friend
Yeah.
Steve, our old webmaster, recommended that too.
It's funny now we're bringing that up. I went on vacation recently myself to Chicago, as you know, and I just grabbed a book to bring with me, and I started rereading for the first time in 20 years The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. So still good read, solid read.
Good stuff.
Solid
good stuff.
author. She's the late great Ursula K. Le Guin, one of my favorite writers.
Ursula, that's a good name. That's Phoebe's sister on Friends, and also I think she was she stole someone's voice once.
Wasn't she also like a princess foil, a Disney princess foil?
Yes,
Was
yes,
it?
Ursula. I'll finish with this. The reason I bought the 4K disc is because I was thinking like
it's 4K discs. Thank you. We're
That's
talking
4K.
Discovery.
I was thinking, the whole like investment when you sink money into something or time into something, then you see it through because you committed to it. So that's why I bought them, because I was like, I want to watch them, but I still haven't opened it. But then if I buy these tickets, it's $30 a night for 3 nights, and then plus the popcorn and soda and stuff. So we're talking $150.
Yeah, it's more of an experience though. So that's it. So is it worth the experience for you to sit in a theater to see it like on a grand scale?
On the big screen.
Yeah. Are they big? That's the other thing. You got it. Because let me tell you another story about this. I went and I saw Fellowship in the movies probably like 2 or 3 times. And then I saw the 2 Towers, and I saw them all at the time on the biggest screens I could. And my brother wanted to see them. So it was playing right here in Sayville in like the $5 theater.
I know where that
and
is.
I took him. Yeah, you do. You passed it several times.
Yeah.
So I took him to see 2 Towers there, and the level of detail that you get on the big screen, just the texture in the world completely vanishes if the screen's not big enough. And I was so disappointed for him to have to see it like that, as opposed to the way I knew it could look if you saw it on an actual decent screen. So there's something to be said.
I think I'm going to do it because when else can I watch it 3 nights in a row when I have Serenity with me because I only have her half the week. So I think it's a good idea.
Do you think she'd make it through all 3?
In the movie theater, yes. At home, no.
Yeah.
At home, we can pause. We can say we'll finish tomorrow and never do. But when we're in the movie theater, we're in the movie theater. So it's more of a commitment.
I think that when you bought those discs, tell me if you've ever had like this. This is something that I used to do, and I don't know why it worked this way. I would love a song I heard on the radio. I love this artist. I would go out. I'd buy the album. I'd listen to it like once, maybe twice, and then it would go on the shelf. And anytime I'm looking for an album, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to listen to that. Anything you own, you don't want to listen to. But when you hear it on the radio, you're like, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm weird that way. It's the same thing. We have a million movies at our fingertips on 17 streaming services. And you're like, there's nothing to watch. No, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch that.
The more choices you have, the less you choose. It's a weird part of human condition.
So I'm always looking for the Odd Couple or the Blues Brothers, or of course those aren't streaming anywhere.
Anyway, on the night that I want to watch streaming at my house, but it's a lot of work to get it to work. So maybe I should just listen to the Lord of the Rings. Is that what you're telling me?
Dun, 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 dun,
I'm listening to Voyager in the car.
Does that help?
Yeah, I'm listening to Voyager in the car. I ripped the audio from the episodes to MP3, and I'm listening to them in the car when we go around.
Well, the thing is, if you rip the audio, you could listen to them in the car, or you could listen to the audiobooks. I'm sure there's got to be an audiobook version of Lord of the Rings.
I think I'll do it. Stay tuned until next week to see if I do it or not. I don't know.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a big-time investment.
All right, so we're here talking about disco. Let's talk about Lagrange Point first. Let's try to keep it on that, and then we'll go to Life Itself, but blur the lines. I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
First impressions of Life Itself.
Life Itself or Lagrange Point, or both?
Lagrange Point. Thank you. Definitely an L word. Definitely an L word.
I have to say, I think that Lagrange Point was a tight action episode. There are things about it I really enjoyed, and there's stuff about it that drove me batshit crazy. Mm-hmm. So I'm very mixed feelings about it, but if you were going to ramp something up for a finale, I think Lagrange Point hit all the posts. How about you?
I enjoyed it better than Life Itself. I thought Frakes did a great job directing it. I thought there was good things in it. A lot of things didn't quite work for me. I enjoyed the heist aspect of the episode. The whole classic, this is what we're going to do, and then they go do it kind of setup.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. There were parts of it where I was like scratching my head, and I was like, is this supposed to be funny, or are they just missing the mark that bad? What's going on? But I think everybody did as best they could with what they were given.
Wow. Damning with faint praise. You know what? Yeah. Maybe before we go any further, I should qualify my review tonight.
Okay.
And this is going to sound weird, but because I missed last week, we had like an entire extra week to rewatch these episodes. And I did watch them both. I saw them both, but there were many nights this week when I had insomnia, and I was up for hours, and I could have watched them multiple times, and there was just something in me that railed at the mere thought of watching these episodes again. I don't know why, but it was like it felt like a personal affront to ask me to watch these again. Mm-hmm. I just had no interest. I spent the entire week binging Young Sheldon instead of watching Disco, which is funny. I'm watching a prequel show of The Big Bang Theory. Yeah, of The Big Bang Theory with Wallace Shawn, and I can't believe how much it sucked me in because I was like, Young Sheldon. I was a Big Bang fan, but I just put on Young Sheldon one night because I didn't want to think. Work's been kind of tough. I've been just like stressed out. And I said, this looks mindless. And damn it, I cannot stop watching it. And what does it say? That we have like an event series finale of a Star Trek program, and I'm watching a sitcom prequel to a sitcom that had some high points, but is fairly middling.
Mm-hmm.
But Star Trek's in it. I mean, there's plenty of Star Trek references.
Yes.
So,
and Red Dwarf.
so yeah, I'd recommend Young Sheldon. I'm in the middle of season 5, I think, already.
I think I was spoiled on the ending.
I haven't seen. I just don't spoil Young Sheldon for me. This is above all. It's sacrosanct, man.
A female Ferengi takes over or something.
So that's my long-winded way of saying I don't know why, but just the thought of rewatching these episodes felt like a chore to me. Maybe because I've gotten more sleep in the last couple of days, the idea of doing it now isn't so repugnant, but for whatever reason, I was not able to bring myself to give like a second or third. I saw them both like one and a half times. And I just could not do a detailed rewatch. So I'm counting on you to bring up some of the points. I think I put together a pretty thorough rundown. And I did read through the recaps on StarTrek.com. I mean, they are exhaustive. So I have a lot of things to say about a lot of things. But how about you? I mean, was it a chore to have to do this for a show?
It was painful. Okay. But let me preface everything I'm about to say and throughout the night by, I think everyone involved in Discovery, except for the showrunners, were really trying to do their best work they could, and it shows. So much good stuff here, but the only problem is the people who let the whole project down were the people running the thing, the people in control of the writing, the storytelling, the arcs. There's supposed to be like, I know there's a lot of talk about Berman Braga and how they controlled everything, and with the older generation of shows. But there was a single voice. There was like, it had to go through a great filter, and I feel like Discovery didn't go through a filter. It's like everything was written like, I don't know if you've ever done this game when you're a kid where you're like writing a story in class, maybe second grade or something, and everybody has to come up with a sentence or a paragraph to continue the story. Yeah, that's what this feels like to me.
That's one of my favorite games on Captain Game Show, John Irons.
How does he do that?
Podcast. Yeah, Captain Game Show. He does an intermission improv. He'll do, I forget what he calls that segment on his show, but he frequently does that as like a break point. Yeah. So one of my faves.
Captain Game Show.
Get it where you get podcasts.
Check it out. Great guy, handsome guy. Fun to look at, great to talk to.
Great to meet. Met him in person.
So anyway, I'm still explaining myself.
Yep, gotcha. I always interrupt. I'm going to interrupt.
It's okay. Me too. I don't think like as a viewer of a television show, I should feel like I'm having a stroke while I'm watching it the whole time. I don't feel like I should have anxiety watching it. I watched both of these episodes 3 times because I wanted to really give them a chance and try to find what I liked about them. By the third time, I think, what is that that hostages get when they like their captors?
Stockholm Syndrome.
I think I was getting a little bit of that by the third viewing of both of these episodes back to back.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome.
We can quit the show now. That's it. Treksploration is not going to get any better than that.
And we're out.
Okay, we'll goodbye, everyone.
Bye. All right. What were you saying? Oh, because I was trying to figure out like what is it. I was watching the story the third time with each of the characters in mind and going through their character arc through the series and seeing them as an individual and seeing their story and appreciating the characters for their stories and the things that I remember and liked about their character through the 5 seasons. Because there was no way to just watch these 2 episodes, and find any semblance of continuity or logic or enjoyment out of it.
Wow.
I'm just getting started.
It's not that bad. I mean, I do think the episodes hold together narratively. I think that I think the season arc came to a conclusion.
Help me to see like you do.
I mean, I'll try, but what I'm impressed with in what you just said is that you can actually remember character beats from past seasons, because I've said this before.
Some.
The thing with disco, I watch it in the moment. I variably enjoy it to a certain degree. And then when I turn it off, I forget almost completely about it. Like, seriously, before I watched Life Itself, I had to rewatch the Lagrange Point, because I completely forgot how it ended. Like, I just forgot. And I just saw it like a day and a half before. Like, there's something about, like, my head turns into like a billiard ball and everything just bounces off of it. I cannot retain any of it.
Well, for me, it's that having a stroke feeling while I'm watching it, because I'm like, this is costing people millions of dollars. Thousands of people are watching this. It must make sense to somebody somewhere. Why can't I understand it? Why can't I enjoy it? Why can't I pick up what they're putting down?
Maybe we're old.
It might be, but
I don't think so.
I don't think it's that. I really don't. Let me look at my notes.
Yeah. No, there is something fundamentally missing, I think, when it comes to maybe not narrative continuity. I think the narrative continuity is kind of a detriment to the show because they're a little bit too hewn to that, right? Maybe it's just character continuity, because everything being shown through the lens of Michael is it takes away from getting to know and love the entire ensemble cast. So unless you are a huge Michael fan and to a lesser extent a huge book fan, then anything else that you see is going to suffer in comparison to that. Yeah, it's the same old complaints that we've had. Anyone that has heard us talk about disco has heard us make these points before. I never read the episode synopsises before you go to some discussion points. Do you want me to read the
yes. Can we do that? Let's do that.
Yeah. All right. It has all been leading to this. The USS Discovery has finally found the progenitor tech, but that ain't the end. The tech is encased in a capsule suspended in the Lagrange point of a binary black hole system. And even as Disco struggles to avoid being sucked over the event horizon, a Breen dreadnought commanded by Maul swoops in and snatches the tech. Luckily, the Disco was cloaked, so the Breen don't know they're there. And Michael hatches a plan that's so crazy that it just might work. Pilot a shuttle into the Breen ship through an exhaust port. Beam onto the ship disguised as Breen. Lower the shields, slap a transpo lock onto the tech, and beam it to Discovery. Iron Men assemble, but not so fast. While they do manage to get into the ship, the plan goes sideways. The tech isn't so much tech as a portal into an unknown. Many fisticuffs ensue, and desperate Maul jumps into the portal in a last-ditch effort to save Locke. Michael, of course, follows. And in his last-ditch effort to retrieve the tech and save the captain, Commander Raynor rams the Disco through the Breen shields and decompresses the shuttle bay. The tech box blows out, a full-on portal now, and it's headed towards the black holes. Now Raynor must save the portal while fending off a Breen armada. Meanwhile, deep inside that progenitor tech, Michael finds an nth dimensional space that holds portals to countless worlds. But she's not alone. Maul waylays her, and the two must battle their way to the ultimate secrets of life, the universe, and everything. This time, for the last time, on Star Trek Discovery.
And is that just Lagrange Point?
Well, this was my summary because I usually try to take it to, take it to a point. And I realized after I wrote this that I basically had to summarize the entire episode of Lagrange Point to bring us to sort of that moment where we can jump off on discussing what really happens in this. Because, Lagrange Point's got a lot going on. But again, it's sort of like it's a setup.
Chris, thank you so much for that episodes synopsis. Can you do the next part for us?
Yeah, because before we hop to mentions, we need to tell people how they can find us and reach out to us and subscribe, like, share. Of course, the main way to see us is on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@Treksploration. I still don't know why they do that. But if you want to join us on a deeper level and come and join our community of Treksplorers, you can do so on patreon.com/Treksplorers. Treksploration. That is where we have our main hub of discussion and activity. And you can join there for free, or you can join there as part of some of the many tiers that we have to support the show. You can also find us on Instagram at Treksploration Pod. You can X us at Treksploration. You can email us at treksplorationpod@gmail.com. You can call us on the phone at 707-847-6682. That's 707-847-6682. Give us your thoughts on the Discovery wrap-up, or you can send us your manifesto at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. That's P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. So reach out and go to that Patreon site, because you too can be like our current crew of Treksplorers. You can join them. We have several lieutenant commanders, including Lieutenant Commander Scott Seligman, who was just promoted, Lieutenant Commander Cosplay Dad, Lieutenant Commander One of All, and Lieutenant Commander Fantasy Fan, and our captain, the aforementioned Charles from Texas. So go patreon.com/Treksplloration, see what all the fuss is about. So,
and there's still time for the first 3 months. If you sign up in the first 3 months, you are a founding member or a founder. So if you want to be one of the founders of Treksplloration, now is the time. They'll have special perks going through and continuing.
I mean, we'll treat you like gods, basically.
Exactly.
Just call me Wayun. We did get some feedback. It's funny. I was looking for some feedback for this show, and we had precious little Discovery feedback. But you know how we've been going back and forth as to whether or not the symbiont is still in Adira.
Adira. Yeah. Do they have it? And do they not?
First I said they did, and then I said they didn't. And now we got an email from a listener named Willard, who writes, Chris and Albie, I hate to throw a wrench into the Tal discussion, but Adira still has Tal. From Memory Alpha in the Grey Tal entry, he was resurrected thanks to the efforts of Dr. Hugh Culber via an unjoining from Tal and a transfer of his consciousness into the body of a golem. So he's like Picard. He's got a robot body. We know that. Robot. So Gray was separated from Tal and transferred into his new body. So that means Tal is still living in Adira. And they still call Adira. They call them Adira Tal. So the symbiote is still there
physically, but the memories are in the golem of Gray.
No, I think Gray is just Gray in the golem. Gray is just Gray before he was joined.
What does it say about the show when we don't know what happened, even though we've seen the episodes multiple times?
Again, I just told you the cue ball bounce. The whole. I think I gave you that whole thing. But what does it say about the show? Again, it brings up the point when they had the whole thing when they're on Trill. Nobody is asking Adira in any way about any kind of insight, even though they have probably a centuries old symbiote living within them and different memories. And you'd think that they would be bad. I guess maybe they didn't want to make Ezri again. I guess they thought Ezri been there, done that. Let's do Tilly 5 years ago. Yeah. Anyway. So thank you, Willard, for we thought that we had beat this dead horse, but thank you for resurrecting it so we could beat it again. Willard, you're a prince.
Maybe the symbiont is a dead horse, and a dead horse is inside of either Gray or Adira. We don't know.
I feel like there's a dead horse inside us all.
There really is. And a big black cherry tree.
Carry on.
How that works? I don't know how that song goes. So thanks for the feedback and thanks for the clarification. Would that be a Trex or Kertrection? I don't know.
Kertrection, yes.
I think that's another Kertrection. Thank you, Willard. Yeah, we got some great feedback from Willard.
Okay.
So I think we should do this. What do they say? How to eat an elephant one bite at a time? Because there's a lot to talk about. So maybe we just kind of go through it, starting with Lagrange Point.
Yep.
Which I like the title. It helped me go back and refresh my learning about Lagrange points and space and different things and astrophysics, and it's cool stuff. I did a lot of Dr. Becky.
Enlighten us. What is a Lagrange point?
Oh, it's it's like the center of a 3-body problem. So like if you have I'm probably getting this all wrong, but my quick understanding of it is like if there's a binary star system and there's planets orbiting them, if you have more than a certain amount, they'll never be in like a stable pattern because of just the added third body keeps the trajectories and the orbits and the gravity fields constantly changing, almost like one of those spirographs or something like that. So it's a lot less easier to predict, and I think almost impossible to predict if I was watching that Neil deGrasse Tyson episode about it, if I understood it. But it's very, very interesting research. I didn't see any of that in this episode, maybe because it was there was a binary black holes system.
I thought so. When by inference, I figured the Lagrange point was that sweet gravitational spot in the middle of the black holes where this thing could live in perpetuity until somebody found it. So yeah, thank you for explaining that, because I had just context clues. I had inferred that the Lagrange point was sort of that sweet spot between the black holes where they were equidistant enough, where the gravity was stable enough for that thing to live in perpetuity until somebody came along to find it. So it's just another kind of neato way for them to continue this hunt and this chase. What's more dramatic in space than black holes, right?
True. And
maybe
it
xenomorphs.
It comes into play. Oh, xenomorphs. It comes into play at the end of the episode, so I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, I think you're on the right track. I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't a third body, so that's what. Yeah, I had heard about the 3-body problem recently on an episode of Radiolab. So I know, and it's also now a Netflix series, right? Based on a book.
Yeah, is that based on the same thing, or is it like murder mystery?
No,
and they have like 3 bodies.
I don't know. I've always wanted to read the book, and now that I see it's a series, it's maybe I'll read it sometime next year before I watch the show. So anyway, we digress.
But there was still a lot that I didn't get. At this point, Maul has taken over the Breen, basically, or that ship of the Breen, that sector, that tribe. What are they calling them?
Primarch.
Yeah. So she's taken over that, right? And what I didn't understand is she was pretty much cool with Disco and Michael and the people. And, but she went there because that was her way out of like being held captive or something. But like, there wasn't like, she wasn't on this like, out to destroy the Discovery crew and Michael Burnham at any cost, like thing, like the Breen were. So when she took over the Breen, I didn't understand the motivation for her to, like, as soon as she took over for the Primarch and to become the new whatever she was, the queen of the Breen, the Breen queen. I didn't understand her motivation to then adopt the Breen's former hostility towards Discovery, and like it's just like, okay, I'm going to take over as the main villain. That's the only motivation I understood, because at that point they could have all worked together to solve the problem and figure this out.
I think you're conflating it, though. I think if I recall correctly, the way that the library episode ended, the way Labyrinth ended, the Discovery jumped away because Ruin was still alive, and he was gunning for the library and for Discovery. So what Disco did was it sporked away and vented its plasma and left some debris behind to give the illusion that it had been destroyed. And then it popped up somewhere, somehow, far away, and it was damaged. And they had to repair it, but they figured that they could it would take the Breen 7 hours. Now that they had the clue, it would take them 7 hours to come to the final point, which was that Lagrange point. They had 6 hours to repair and jump to that point before the Breen got there to give themselves a margin. But what happened was the spore drive was damaged. So when they did do the spork to the clue, they came in too close to the black hole because they couldn't really control it with the finesse that they wanted to. They didn't have enough repair time for Stamets to be able to pinpoint exactly where they needed to go, which is why when they leapt in, they were immediately in trouble and trying to get out of the gravity wells. So, and then when Maul and Locke come, they think they're destroyed. So Maul has at this point killed the Primarch. She's killed Rune, and she is just now all about getting this tech. They get there, Discovery's still cloaked, so they don't even know Discovery is there. because Discovery is doing its own thing. And then the Dreadnought comes in, swoops in, gets the canister on a tractor beam and brings it into the shuttle bay. And that is the launching point for the caper part of the episode. So I hope that helps. So I don't think that she was really concerned with them at all at this point. She was more focused on the clue, but like a bad penny, they just keep turning up. So she's got to deal with them. But if you notice, there's one thing when they do get caught towards the end of the episode, she doesn't say kill them. She says, look, we're gonna throw you in the brig. I'm gonna do what I got to do, and then we'll put you down somewhere. But she's not like murderous like Rune was.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I thought they could be kind of on the same team and work together because they had common goals. So what was this Captain, what's his name? Commander Rayner, controlling the Discovery and the crew and the flamethrowers and the sparks and the constantly blowing up for an hour and a half. What was their beef with the Breen? Why were the Breen attacking them? Were they different Breen? Were they the same Breen? Why was that whole conflict happening? I understood it was happening for like dramatic purposes to make.
Let me just walk you through again the narrative.
I watched it 3 times.
Here. Yeah, no, the narrative through line was this. I mean, they got onto the ship, they got captured. Before anything else could happen, Disco figured a way to just, if you go at a certain angle, you can go through somebody's shields. But they figured a way where they could go on just the exact angle and slip behind a molecule and vent the shuttle bay completely so that the progenitor tech would be blown out into space again, and then they were going to put a tractor beam on it and fly away. But since what they did basically constituted an attack on the Breen ship, and then Maul jumps into the portal anyway, along with Michael, now the Breen is just like, oh yeah, screw you. We have to go. We have to destroy you so that we can get our hands back on the portal, so that we can get Maul back or get the technology or whatever. Because now it's a game of who wins. And so, if you think about it, Disco was the aggressor here.
Yeah. So in this case, Disco's the bad guy. The what word am I looking for?
Instigator. He's an instigator.
Yeah. So
like Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah. and that comes up later too when we're when Maul and Locke, or I guess that's in the next episode, where Maul and Michael are inside the what is it called? A Tesseract? Or something similar
sure.
like that.
I like that. Yeah. I like it. Yeah, sure. They're wearing their Iron Man helmets. Why not have it be the Tesseract?
The heist part, I think we gotta again, an elephant. There's an elephant in the room with this heist part of this episode.
So what's the elephant in the room?
I really, if it was anything else, I would have thought it was a comedy bit. Now the Breen are like 6 stunt actors, right? All the same height, all the same weight, all the same build, so they can double them, triple them, and you don't notice any different. Right?
They're essentially stormtroopers.
Yeah. And the Discovery crew replicates Breen outfits. And I mean, it's got to be said that none of them are that 6'2" guy, maybe Book, right? Book fits in with the rest of them, but everybody else is all different heights, all different shapes and sizes, genders. And the Breen don't notice when they've infiltrated the ship.
I never thought that all the Breen they're not like clones. I mean, so there is going to be some diversity, some biodiversity among them somewhere.
But they're like jellyfish, and they're all like in their their suit of armor.
Think of it this way. Even jellyfish are of varying sizes. So you're going to only have certain mass to fill that shoe, right? You know what it's like when your shoe is too big. You get a big blister. You don't want you get a big blister all over your body if you are a jellyfish in a too big Breen costume, right?
That makes sense. I was just thinking when they did a shot, they did like that Avengers Assemble shot, and it was like it panned up through them all, and I would literally laughed out loud because I'm like, they don't look anything like the rest of the Breen. At least on this ship, is those 6 guys repeated over and over again. I'm like, how are they not going to get caught? Like when Book and Burnham are walking down the hallway, and one's like 2 feet taller than the other one, and and then we have Adira, and then I think it would have been better if we had Saru as one of them. Maybe Tilly and maybe Tig or something. I don't know, but I was just like, And then I thought, wow, these Breen are so advanced that they want to be so kind to everybody and not mention or notice body shape, size, height, weight, that they let the intruders go by because they don't want to be unkind to them. So I think the Breen are the good guys in this story.
All right. I mean, hey, they could be. We only saw one bad Breen, but they did side with the Dominion in the Dominion War. So they have been a legacy enemy of the Federation.
But did the writers of this series ever watch Deep Space Nine? I don't know.
I think maybe one of them must have. Right? Maybe. They've heard of Breen. Yeah, maybe one of them must have. You know what? I don't know that I had a problem with that. I figured that you're going to have different shapes and sizes of Breen, and what I just hated. I mean, hated was the face shots, like the inside Tony Stark's helmet
Iron
shots.
Man. Yep.
Yeah, and that Frakes directed this, and that he did like it wasn't even a split screen. It was like, what do you call it? A trip screen. Trip Tucker. It was a Trip Tucker screen where they're like, "Aye, Captain," and it's just like, this is so cheesy and dumb and not dynamic at all. It's just a rehash of something we've seen Marvel Cinematic Universe do very well since 20 years, 10 years, 15 years ago, and it's just like, did we need to have all of these dumb close-ups of their faces talking? I get why they did it, because you want to have the characters talking to each other. And how did that work? How are they saying one thing out to the Breen and it comes out like
their AI suit knows what to communicate
and they know,
between the two
exactly.
of them, or to convert to Breen?
It's the same technology that's in the transporter badge that can read your mind to know where you want to go, because you never have to say it.
Or when you put your hand up, you either get a dermal regenerator or a phaser, or something else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Without saying anything or anything. Maybe it's the whole Ardra technique where you just like move your eyes. Who knows? But I'm not going to blame Frakes for that. I don't think he's as much in control of the artistic choices as
he's the director. He is the artistic boss. Like it's his vision.
But I've seen in some interviews, he's like, they want me to do this. They want it more cinematic. They want me to do this, and they want me to do that. And he's just there to do it.
Yeah, I still those close-ups, those face shots.
It wasn't. It took me out of it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm watching a TV show. I wasn't on the Discovery anymore.
Yeah. And again, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the actions part of this, and for me, that is saying something, because I find all of the fight scenes very distracting on this show. But this was a setting in which it was warranted, because it was kind of a tense setup. You knew it was going to go sideways. The question was how. So do they make it sort of like a funny caper? They kind of tried that. Like you said, was it a comedy? I don't know. I think they tried some comedic elements with Book flirting with that dude in the hangar bay,
the hot oil bath.
Yeah. So I mean, that wasn't so bad, but Thoughts?
The comedy shot for me was definitely the pan up where they showed everybody with different shapes and sizes as Breen, and it just like took me back to like the stunt double scene from Spaceballs where they caught their stunt doubles. It was just that incongruent, and the hot oil bath was funny. I found most of the fighting and fight scenes in this episode and the next episode very unnecessary and unmotivated. I did enjoy the one thing that when Michael and Book were trying to get into that room or into the hangar deck that they couldn't, and they had to put in the fight. That to me was like an old school like Star Trek TOS or TNG, where they're doing that whole fake fight distraction to then fight the other two. So I did enjoy that part. I felt like Frakes' handprint on that.
It was like a Fizbin moment to me.
Yeah, exactly. I did enjoy that, but so many of these fights, just for fight's sake, it made no sense.
Well, that's what it is. There are so many fights for just fight's sakes, because this is Action Trek. And I mean, I said it before and I'll say it again, Breen armor is useless. Like, why are they wearing any kind of body armor? You can punch their helmets, you can punch their body armor, the Orions too, I guess. Like what is the sense of having these choreographed fight scenes with people who are wearing armor that obviously does nothing to protect them? Like, how can you knock somebody out who's wearing a helmet? That's the whole idea of wearing a helmet. That's why you wear a helmet when you ride your bike, so you don't splatter your brains.
And the Breen are not bone and muscle; they're like gelatinous. So you're punching a bag of liquid, basically. I don't even. Anyway,
it's like punching Stretch Armstrong, right?
Exactly.
I wish I had one of those.
You ever break one of those open? Red jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. I had the stretchy Hulk when I was a kid. Did you have the Hulk one?
I want to say I had Captain America.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I wanted Spider-Man, but I never got stretch Spider-Man.
And I might have had, maybe not. I might have had Batman. I don't know.
I had the Hulk, the one that was from the 70s. It smells like beach balls, but it had the Hulk came in a cage, a plastic cage, and you hooked up like one of those old school blood pressure pumps to it, and the Hulk would like expand, and then the cage would burst open.
That sounds awesome.
And that was
got to find one of those.
Yeah, they're on eBay for like $300-$400 now. But that was one of my favorite Christmas presents when I was a little kid.
Cool.
I love the Hulk loofering and all that stuff. Unnecessary things. The communication was all jacked up. The universal translator works sometimes and not other times, so it knew Breen, and it was learning Breen as it went. It didn't already know Breen, which it should have known Breen, because if what is it? What's Saru's wife's name?
Talana.
She knows Breen, so universal translator by now. Tarina. Universal translator by now should know Breen, so that didn't make sense either.
Well, maybe the Vulcans are like the Vulcans on Enterprise. They don't want to share their technology with filthy primitive humans. I don't know.
But besides that, I did like the heist part. I did like Reese being there. I did like Adira being there. I did like them doing things that they haven't done before. I like that feeling. I liked. I think I texted you earlier in one of those scenes. I think it's was it like 15 minutes in. One of the Breen in the background is walking across the floor. I don't know if you watched that part, but he's like walking across the floor and like he trips up, like stumbles, and then like looks around and keeps going. And it's in the episode. It's still there. They left it in. Like, I guess I understand they missed it in editing, but it's like still there.
Or maybe that was the only covered shot they had, and they had to use it. Or maybe that was Frakes doing it. Maybe Frakes did it on purpose. Like,
maybe Frakes said, "Okay, just stumble in the background.
Just stumble a little bit." You know,
I don't know. I was watching that going, did that just and I rewound it, and it was like Amazing Race when you see people in a suit of armor tripping in one of the early seasons. It's just I watch it on repeat.
A suit of armor tripping. See also the Breen.
I like the effects of them getting sucked into the Pringles can. The what is it called? The tube.
I don't know. The tech.
I liked it because they could have just had a simple like going past a certain light and disappear or something, but they were like literally sucked in and like pulled in like Poltergeist or something. I really liked that.
Or like it looked like it was like when Zoe and Aaliyah would leap. They would just be like
with a little stretchiness,
and then they would stretch. Yeah, they would stretch back into oblivion. So,
but when they were tethered like to the ship and they still got sucked in, I was definitely getting vibes of Poltergeist. So that came through. I think I don't know intentionally or not. Trying to think what else I liked about this episode. There wasn't much.
But let's talk about Mull a little bit here.
Yeah, let's talk about Mull.
We did talk about her motivation.
Yeah, what was her motivation?
She just wants to. She loves Locke so much that she wants to use the progenitor tech to bring him back to life, and that's the promise that she's made to every single one of them. And then she goes and she puts him in a portable pattern buffer. I guess because it's the 67th century, so you can do that.
Relics, and totally
because he is such a vital part of her life and the key to her happiness, what she does is she takes this tiny plastic bit of tech and then wears it on the outside of her sleeve on the place in her arm that's most likely to just hit something errantly, or to get knocked off in a fight, or to maybe get sucked into a portal inadvertently. It was the stupidest place you could put this pattern buffer. Like, why? Oh, because you wanted to see it on camera, I guess, or because Michael had to notice it later. It was so dumb. I did that annoy? It took me right out.
I like the idea of the pattern buffer being a way to halt time for someone who's either dying or dead. I did like that because it flashback to relics, and
Yep.
then that Strange New Worlds few episodes where the Doctor's daughter is in the pattern buffer. So I think it made sense. The tech made sense for the 69th century.
They don't. I mean, but the Breen have like cryosuits. They couldn't just put the body in stasis. I guess it was just a way for her to bring the body
around with her, right?
Yeah.
Because what would that tech be used for normally? Like, I think you just maybe for carrying around your luggage or something.
You know, but if you think about it, whenever they do the boop boop and they have like a dermal regenerator or the boop boop, and maybe that's all somehow a portable pattern buffer on their sleeve.
Could be almost like one of those bigger on the inside pockets where you can pull anything out of.
Right. A bag of holding. We're going to call that the bag of holding.
Bag of holding.
Yes. So.
It was pretty much a part one because I think the rest of what I'm thinking about it just is in maybe the second part, which was almost an hour and a half for the episode 2.
Hour 25, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, we're going. So I put a lot of this into the synopsis, so that's why I think we've already kind of discussed a lot of the episode. But
all right,
I really thought it was cool how Rayner decided, okay, this is what we're going to do. And of course, you know, Michael's speaking to him in code somehow. She's going to get her dram of glucid or whatever the hell she said. Somebody correct me down in the comments. And of course, he can read her secret. I guess she's doing yet another Kelleran deep cut. I know just what she means. We have to ram that ship. But I mean, it would have been so cool. I kept thinking of the Battle of Sector 001 and prepare for ramming speed. And they actually did it. I don't remember the last time I saw that, if I've ever seen that on Star Trek. We got to see it in one of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we've ever seen that in Trek. And I thought it was really neat. Also, a nice way to juxtapose the size of the disco compared to the Breen Dreadnought, which was so huge.
Those Breen ships are huge.
It's kind of like New Trek loves to have their starships go inside enemy ships, kind of like the D flying through the Borg cube, a la Empire and Jedi.
Very Empire, very Star Wars homage-ish ripoff,
right? Inside, So, I mean, I didn't know that there was space enough in a Borg cube for a big fat ship like the D to fly through it, but I guess there is.
We know. You put the D inside the cube.
Yep. plenty of wiggle room there. And I just thought that was a neat effect. I loved the shot, the point of view of the ship coming through on that angle and breaking through the force field at the end of the bay, and just the chaos that it caused. I thought that was really neat. So I mean, kudos to them. That's what I said when I started this episode. Up top, I said there were a lot of things for me to like, and they teed it off really well. Those action sequences, again, had a place. They weren't just there to be there. They really did help to ramp up the tension and to give us some stakes and to set the scene for the last episode. So, and again, it was like it's not something I believe I've ever seen on Star Trek before. So I'm going to give it props for that.
That's cool. I think my problem with the whole process was the motivation, because I couldn't understand the motivation. Now that you explained it to me, and that the disco is the antagonist in the situation, it makes more sense, but it all seems unnecessary to me. I think it could have been like the end of Motion Picture almost, where like they're just all like peacefully going towards this thing to figure out what it is. There doesn't have to be an explodey battle the whole time.
I feel like we already did that with the 10C planet. And
that's true. Well, season 4 and 5 are very much repeated.
Galactic barrier kind of deal, right?
They went there. There wasn't explodies happening. I don't remember flamethrowers on the bridge in that episode.
Wow, thank you. I have Aaliyah's theme going through my head now, so thank you. Yeah. It's always nice to have Aaliyah's theme going through.
I have it constantly on repeat. That's why she's always with me. So should we give our ratings and favorites and things?
We're doing that. We're going to do that for each.
Both.
Oh, you know what? I thought we were going to do it as one, but if you, how are you? You're the
No,
showrunner.
one's
You tell
good.
me.
One's good, and then we
How
can
do you
do
want to do
our
it?
ratings and favorites at the end after our
Yeah,
captain's
after our
table.
Charles, yeah, after
Okay,
our Charles
okay,
allude,
Captain
our
Charles.
interlude.
So then we get, I think, into life itself, which is basically
Yep.
just, after a commercial break, it continues. That's how
Yep.
I felt about it. When I think it starts off with Burnham waking up inside the Tesseract and on the volume. I think this episode suffers a lot from, they're trying to do the Tesseract from Interstellar, maybe like something similar to that, where it goes on and on forever in every direction with all these different multiple places.
Yeah.
But it definitely suffers from being in the volume. It looks like they're just standing and acting in front of a huge TV screen for most of that part of the episode.
I think that what they to me, they were trying to bring to life some kind of MC Escher drawing, right? To make it so that gravity didn't work quite the same way, to make it so that all of the space was used in many dimensions. So you could localize your gravity and then jump to the next one. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of 2001 when Dave is doing the jogging, Keir Delay, Gary Mitchell, when he's doing the jogging around the no, Keir Delay wasn't Gary Mitchell, the Frank. Gary Mitchell was Frank. Anyway,
Frank Marshall
from the Frank Poole.
Mm-hmm. Frank, Dr. Frankenfooter.
Yeah, Frank. Frank Burns. Insert your Frank
Harry
here.
Burns.
Yep. So, but I appreciated the look that they were trying to go for, but I think it probably sounded better on paper and looked better on the what do they call those when they do the comics of it?
Storyboards.
The storyboard. Thank you. When they do this, I knew that. It just I couldn't find. Don't turn 50, Albie. Your words will disappear. You won't be able to find them.
I'm in my extremely late 30s still, luckily.
So I think that when they storyboarded it out, they were just like, yeah, this is gonna be cool AF. But then when it comes to executing it in 3 dimensions with real people, there's only so much special effects can do. Mm-hmm. So it just turns into this confusing, endless hallway that might be surrounded by other limitless hallways, and it's very boxy and very blocky, and it doesn't have, I think, that otherworldliness about it that they really were going for.
I don't think it worked, but thinking about it, I don't know how it could have worked.
Yeah. I mean, unless you went completely surreal, like if you went like Steve Ditko, Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. Kind of stuff, because they did make it work. They do make it work in the Doctor Strange movies, when everything is like, coming in on itself and all that. Mm-hmm. So, but again, you have the TV budget and you have to keep it somewhat sequential, because not only do you want to hop through worlds, but you want to have the longest fight you've ever seen as you're hopping through worlds. Jesus Christ. Now this is where I get aggravated. I just tune out. How long are they going to fight?
And why are they fighting?
Yeah.
Before the fight starts, she's like, here's a dermal regenerator so you can heal yourself, right? And then once they're all healed, then they start fighting. Femoral vein versus a femoral artery. Does it take longer to bleed out from a femoral vein? I don't understand.
Such a thing? I don't know.
The way that I'd never heard of it before, but the way the blood was pouring out, and then Michael said, you'll be dead within the hour. I was like, within the hour? 10 minutes, you're dead. She's already dead before she got there. I don't know.
I don't know. So the way I think I see it is just like they must have all come into the portal in the same place, and they all got swept onto Hurricane Planet. And
which reminded me of The Enemy from Next Generation, Enemy Mine homage episode with Geordi.
Yeah, that was the one with the Cardassian, right? Yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. I can't wait to talk about that one. But the fact that they all got sucked up into whatever energy sheet, because when she put the leaf through it, like she plucked off that leaf, and then the leaf kind of floated through with no resistance. But the second Michael went to it, it swept her into this world. Now they're falling through these portals, like what, 50 feet, 70 feet and like landing on their back. Now, finally, the Breen armor works apparently because nobody breaks their spine. There's no compound fractures. There's no massive head trauma.
All that tech, now they have personal inertial dampeners probably.
I guess. They're just, and there's squishy little airbags in there because technically it's designed to keep your jelly in place. So I don't know. I
liked a couple of the squishy airbags, but that's another show. When the leaf, when she first ripped off the leaf, I was like, what if the progenitors are just these plants? How do you know? You're just ripping the leaf off. I was like, what are you doing? Just, you know, it was walking up to a life form and just ripping something off. We don't know. We don't know what they have. And I like how they mentioned like the gravity works different here because like it only works on your hips. And it looks like you're being pulled by wires the whole time. It was definitely wire work. It was weird. It was bad. And this was definitely like the everything everywhere all at once fight. And I was like, oh, too bad they don't know Michelle Yeoh. And I was like, they do. So if Giorgio was in it, she would have been like, I've done this before. I got this. But I thought that was definitely something like that. But there was no butt plugs.
She was too busy making you believe a Starfleet captain could fly. She finally became Super Michael on this.
Yeah, they were superheroes at the end. Definitely. It was some kind of Superman 3 fight at the end of a something. And then they settle down and then they decide to work together, right?
Yeah, they settle down because Michael gives the Michael speech because there's always a Michael speech. And she convinces Maul that Maul doesn't need to trust the Federation because that's really why Maul's fighting Michael. She thinks the Federation's going to come and appropriate this tech and she'll never get her beloved back. Again, the relationship I don't buy at all. But Michael's just like, I'm not asking you to trust the Federation. I'm asking you to trust me. And it's like, and Maul's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like, why would she?
All cool. Right?
Yeah.
They seem all cool for like a couple beats, and then all of a sudden Michael Burnham just leg sweeps Maul for no reason. And she started a fight again. I'm like, what just happened? Explain that to me.
I think you're conflating. I think you're getting things
I watched
out of
it 3
order
times, and the second 2 times I was on the lookout for it. I'm like,
well, then don't ruin it for me because in my memory they stop fighting in my memory, and then she somehow finds the way in between the portals.
Oh, this is before that. They have a second unnecessary fight after they made up.
As I said, so much fighting.
Unnecessary. Are they working together or are they not? And then Michael, again, is the antagonist in the situation. And I was like, she's learned nothing. It's like the Vulcan hello all over again. Everything's cool, and then she just attacks again. I was just, no.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she was maybe trying to get the jump on Maul because Maul still had some nefarious purposes, and then Maul, it's at the end of the fight, it turns into like a détente, right? It's just supposed to be an alliance of convenience and who's going to screw over who first. And
well, and this is not where it's not making sense in my brain. When Michael attacks her out of nowhere after they've made up, and Michael's like lecturing Maul on how she has to work with her and not against her, and they have to work together or something like that. And I was thinking, they've already done that. And then maybe it's an editing thing. Maybe there's lines I didn't hear, but I had it the closed caption on. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the discrepancy is you're talking about. So
it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Again, maybe one of the benefits of having watched this 1.5 times, and the half time that I saw twice was the time we're talking about.
Okay.
So it's pretty funny. Well, regardless, they do decide to work together, and then somehow Michael, because Michael sees and knows all, decides to put her hand into the thing that just swept her into like a dangerous world of, flying rocks that squish green helmets. But all of a sudden it parts like the Red Sea, and she's in a field of flowers like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
Very Wizard of Oz. I was like, these are the poppies. Yep, it's going to start snowing fiberglass or something.
Yeah. Field of poppies. It was like a field of hydrangeas, I think, though. They were more like hydrangeas. And there's the portal, right? It's like the DS or whatever it is, like the Grand DS. And she's like, that's the tech. Well, how do you know? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I was
What do
like,
you think? Build the shape of the one between the many. It's like, what?
a lot of people I've seen online said the mystery was no mystery. Like that's an obvious like second grade math quiz thing. But
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know.
Maul didn't get it because that's
No.
when she betrays, as you knew she was going to. She whaps Michael upside the head, and
Michael
Michael
went down
she goes down hard. She goes down like
hard, right in the
like a
poppies.
yeah, like a sack of Klingons, and and that's it. And then Maul, of course, makes a mistake. But see, this is where you expect her to like become disassociated and just sort of vaporize, and that's the end of Maul. But instead, she's just like, "Zzz," and Michael. The first thing Michael does is goes and grabs her because that seems prudent.
Yeah, like if somebody's being electrocuted, you don't go and grab them because then you're being electrocuted, right? That was my first thought.
Yeah, you know, and they're kind of wearing the same suits, so if it's not stopping it with Maul, why would it stop it with you? You know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then she pulls her aside, and then I guess Maul is down for the count for a little while, right?
Yeah.
And then Michael, of course, Super Michael solves the puzzle of the triangle inside the triangles.
Yeah.
The one between the many. Now, here's the thing. She built like this isosceles triangle, but the triangle she built it out of were equilateral triangles, they looked like. So she could have built the triangle in the wrong shape because if you're going to mimic the many with the one between the many, you would have built a different shaped triangle, I think. But
I was getting Land of the Lost vibes, you know, where they would have to adjust the crystals and stuff.
In the pylon? Where was Enoch when we needed him, man?
Yeah.
The only sleaze stack that could talk. You know?
Yeah, it was. I was getting a little bit of that, and part of me thought, okay, the founder, the what are they called?
I'm sorry, I'm still sleaze stacking of it. It occurs to me that sleaze stack are just proto-Ferengi.
Yeah, a little bit. I was wondering. I was like, the progenitor is billions of years old, and like stairs hasn't changed in billions of years. We just have stairs.
Stairs, you know, it's like they're practical.
Like
it's
a
like
paper
the wheel.
clip. Yeah, wheel.
How do
you can't really improve on it. It's stairs.
Right. You just put one thing on top of the other, and you
So I have to say I really enjoyed the portrayal of the progenitor, seeing the new costume they had and the makeup. I thought the makeup was really good on the progenitor that we met. I don't know if they had a name, did they?
I don't recall that they did. It's just I kind of liked that. I already knew that time wasn't passing the same in there for Michael. I knew that she would wake up almost a second later, no matter how long she spent in there.
Right.
I did like the fact that the progenitor really was almost like an echo, like Guinan in the Nexus, right?
Yeah.
And it just almost like a program waiting to teach the next generation what they need to do to harness this tech. Yeah, kind of like I am for you, DeSalle. I am for you. But that stuff worked for me, and I enjoyed that. Now, as a next gen fan, I think that maybe was this more of an impactful moment for you because it ties so directly back to one of the more well-regarded episodes of TNG. Yeah, because if I saw the chase, I think I only saw part of it once.
I was impressed and intrigued by the beginning of the meeting the progenitor part, but towards the end, not so much. So I think the first thing was like wondrous discovery when it was in the chase, and now this is just like she was there to just be a user manual, basically. But I think I'm not sure if she was an echo or if she was still just connected across time. Not sure, because time seemed to pass for her because they mentioned connecting with the Beta Z before and working on a plan.
Yeah.
So there's some,
but who knows if time is the same? Could be like the wormhole aliens with no concept of time. She's just an echo, you in the valley.
And then while all this is happening, we have Saru in a shuttlecraft. What was that about? Explain this to me. What was his beef with the other Breen?
There we go. So this is just to give Saru something to do, and I guess I have Nan there as window dressing.
Yeah, that was nice though, seeing her. But I mean, they should have used her.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess the who was it? Primarch Tahal. That's the one that terrorized Raynor's planet
Hmm.
and killed his family.
Yeah.
And it was to give more stakes to the discovery and to amp up the tension, because now the ship is coming in hot and they want the tech. They've already taken care of the one Breen dreadnought, right? They zapped them all in the nebula with the pyrotechnics, or maybe it was the same. Maybe it was. This is where I get confused. Either it was Primarch Tahal's ship that was chasing them with that armada, or it was Maul's ship fighting back. I'm not sure which was which, but essentially what Saru wanted to do was to buy them some time and see if they could prevent Tahal from getting onto the scene to complicate things for the Disco even more, because they're already outgunned with one dreadnought. So he goes on this mission to intercept them while they're still en route and to try to get them to give up the ghost and to go home and say, go. We I have it on go, whatever. It's playing into the Primarch thing, playing into the secession thing with the Breen royalty or whatever. I don't know why they decided to use Saru in this capacity as just this stand. It just struck me as they ran out of money and they wanted to have Doug do something. So they said, what's a standing set and how can we give Doug something to do as a goodbye for Saru that's somehow meaningful to the outcome of this fight? Because Saru's been sidelined for the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's shown up in like what 3 episodes.
From what I understand, it was because he was away doing press tour for Hocus Pocus 2, because he's the zombie dude in that movie.
Okay.
And he had prior commitments, so he couldn't really be there full time. And I think the reason why Saru had like the side mission and the shuttle and that stuff is because you don't really see him very often with the Disco crew. So it might have been like available for filming on these days, and it might have been separate from when the rest of the Disco crew was available, because it's usually him and one other person, or him at the Federation headquarters.
Right. Him and Tarina, right?
Tarina. I have to say, I did enjoy the Saru and Tarina relationship in this episode. It kind of almost gave me feels a little bit. I was watching some Disco behind the scenes, and the actress who plays Tarina is really beautiful. You just can't tell with the Vulcan makeup and the Vulcan wig and all that stuff on. I really like Doug Jones acting in this, where he was like, "I'm a predator. Look at my eyes." I didn't like the writing, but I liked his work in the scene. And I did like when Tarina and Saru had that hug before he left for his suicide mission.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you buy the relationship, it's fine. But it's much like Maul and Locke. I feel no chemistry between Tarina and Saru. I feel like they're in love just because they're in love, and because they think the story is more interesting that way. I don't know. I've been
in my head, I was flashing through like the wedding night. Like, what are they doing? Is there like darts shooting out of her?
Yeah, I mean,
is there the other thing? Does their junk work together? I don't even know.
I mean, and the other thing when he's like, look into my eyes, I'm a predator. His face does not noticeably change in any material way whatsoever. He's still got that placid Saru look to me. There was no intensity there that I noticed. So that was kind of a miss, and it's not Doug. It's the makeup. I mean, the Saru makeup is so limited.
I felt 180 difference. So I like really bought it in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess it works for some, not for others, but it did that moment did work for me. The makeup, I think, it's the best it ever has. It didn't have that translucent, plasticky look to me on this episode as much. Almost like they were using a different paint technique or powder or something. Maybe lighting. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be the lighting.
That's another thing. Locke and Maul, their relationship. And I had mentioned this a couple episodes ago when we were talking. I didn't feel the loss of Locke because I knew he was coming back, because that's the whole point of the journey that we're taking, is to bring Locke back so Maul and Locke can be back together. That's why they spent so much time on these characters. So we knew Locke was coming back because they told us how he was going to come back, and then he didn't come back. So they really just took away any feeling of loss for the character or caring for the character, because you're like, don't worry, he's coming back, and then he doesn't come back.
Well, you just assumed he was coming back, and Maul just assumed he was coming back, and even the progenitor said we could bring a version of that meat suit back, but it won't be him. I mean, it reminds me of an episode of the Venture Brothers when 21 is trying to get a clone of 23 back, and Dr. Venture says to him, I can give you a baby that will grow up to look like your friend, but it won't be your friend. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Of course, I'm always going to go to the Venture Brothers, but anyway.
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious if they wrote that part before they knew that they wouldn't get a 6th season. And maybe they were going for something like Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, where you get a new Spock, but then you put his memories back in him somehow.
The Search for Locke?
Yeah, The Search for Locke, exactly.
Yeah. How many times are we going to do it?
I like the actor.
Yeah, that's fine. You can like the actor all day long. It doesn't mean that Locke we need to now have a legacy for Locke, and there has to be another season where Locke gets yet another Star Trek character that gets somehow rejoined into a new body. Yeah. We did it with Spock. We did it with Pickard. We did it with Gray. Now we got to do it with Locke. And I'm sure there's another one. I'm sure there's more that we've seen. I guess Harry is an alternate dimension Harry, right?
Yeah, there's
a
couple
different Harry.
3 maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah,
so
I feel like it's been done. It's been done.
Yeah, I just felt robbed because I didn't feel his loss, because I knew he was coming back to life.
You didn't feel his loss because you don't care about the character. You did not feel his loss because nobody cares that he died. It's as simple as that. Stop trying to make it like it was this thing that you assumed would happen that ruined it for you. Mm-hmm. So you're giving it too much credit.
I am. But that was just another disappointment, a missed opportunity, let's say. The running theme of Disco, missed opportunities.
Yes.
What else happened in this episode before we get to the 16 endings?
Yeah, the 17 or 18 endings. I mean, we did have a lot of action outside because the portal was getting sucked into a black hole or two, and they had to keep it from doing that so they could rescue Michael. And to do that, they decided to send a teeny tiny shuttle out to try to stabilize it with a tractor beam while the Disco fought off the Breen Armada. And so they send Book out, and then Hugh just has this crazy, wacky feeling that he needs to go too for some unknown reason. And yeah, I guess maybe that was them trying to put a bow on all of that Janal nonsense.
Maybe they were like teeing up for season 6, but they had to just quash it in the final episode.
See, I don't think so, because all of this seems to me like it was all deliberately put in there as culmination of these story beats. I think they would not have continued this story on if Discovery has taught us anything. They end their seasons with finality. They don't often give you a cliffhanger ending. I can't remember one. They might have introduced a new element before, right at the very end, but they always wrapped up the season-long story before they did that. So I can't imagine that this was the reshoots. To me, the reshoots or the extra shoots was the old Michael nonsense. That was all
I think
like the Coda stuff. Yeah.
Maybe
but I think all of this was designed to be in this episode. So that's how I saw it. That's how I saw it.
I did like Book and Culber together again, but it wasn't as good as their scene where they were eating the mofongo. That really was a good scene. This was more like But of course, I love anytime David Ajala is on screen. Like you're drawn to him. He's got that gravitas that I think if we had good casting, better casting, different casting for Disco, maybe more of the characters would have had that gravitas where you want to just watch them.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I mean, but I thought it was kind of a lame wrap up to make it that he found some kind of phantom. What was it like tractor beam frequency modulation to keep the tech from going into a black
yeah,
hole like that. That was the culmination of this arc, really, and he and
he just had a
explain
memory.
why.
He just had a
Yeah, I
memory.
just it's like
Almost
why.
like they needed a something there, and then they worked that in, and then made the whole backstory just for that moment that didn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Well, it kind of mattered in the action part of it, but it was just weak sauce. Call it weak sauce.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So how is this whole thing resolved? Triangles, progenitor, and then Michael Burnham comes out of the other space time, and she's back in her real time. She puts Locke back into the bracelet, and then they go back to
because Maul suddenly realizes, has a change of heart, that just because on Michael's word they can't bring Locke back. Because it's getting to be an hour 20 here. We got to wrap this up. So instead of Maul doing what she probably would have done, which would have said, okay, you figured out how to get in there, knock Michael out again and go demand that the progenitor. But no, she takes Michael's word for it. So, and she just gives up, and all of a sudden now everybody's friends, or at least
which
not,
they should have been
not
all
mortal
along.
enemies.
There shouldn't have been as many pew-pews, explosions. I don't think. I think that cheapened the whole experience. The final fight, besides reminding me of all of everything, everywhere, all at once, I got like vibes of Star Trek Insurrection, like the final Picard and that one alien with the skin and
Waffle.
and they were fighting. Thank you. And they were fighting at the end there. I got feeling of that a little bit. I'm sure it was unintentional, but I think. Okay. They didn't do it as well, maybe, but in parts they did better. So how does it resolve? Where do they go? I've watched it 3 times. After that, they just go back to the ship, and Michael has to decide. Right?
Oh no, but you're missing one of the. I think one of the most genuinely cool things.
Okay,
is how they got rid of the Breen dreadnought. They separated the saucer from the secondary hull, and they quantum locked, and they basically sporked the dreadnought to the galactic barrier. So I want to know.
That was the commander's idea, right? And then Tilly was like, no. Wait, maybe
something like it was maybe Tilly. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that was Rayner's idea, and I thought that was genuinely cool. But it always confused me how when Discovery spore jumps, it goes into this huge circle, and so like. What are you feeling on the ship? I guess you have artificial gravity, so it's all relative. So nobody cares.
Inertial dampeners,
artificial gravity. But I mean, I guess spinning is part of the process because they spin that Breen ship real good.
Like when the DeLorean gets hit by lightning, I think it works the same.
I guess. Does it get real cold on the outside? Damn cold.
Damn cold.
And they zap him away, and Rayner's just like, it'll take him a couple of decades to get home, but at least I left them alive, which is more than I can say for what they did for my family.
That was kind of cruel. A couple of decades. I mean, you could just do it a little bit, or not a little bit more than you need, but that was far. But I guess he was getting back at him. And again, Disco was the antagonist in the whole situation.
Yeah, so they finally saved the portal from the black holes. Because of the shield frequency modulation. They get Michael and Maul back. They bring them back to the Disco. The Breen are gone, and Maul is in sickbay convalescing. Book has a little moment with her, and then Michael takes it upon herself to say, when I came out of there, I saw Idic. And she finally has her final revelation of the season. And it's just this tech is too much. She takes it upon herself to decide for the entire, humanoid existence in our galaxy that nobody can handle this tech and we don't need it. So we're going to throw it into the black hole. Everything that we tried to prevent, we're just going to do it anyway. We're just going to throw it into a black hole.
It's almost like a time-space, because it's just beyond the event horizon. So it's almost like a time-space pattern buffer. To where like nobody can have it now, but maybe in the future we'll figure out how to get it, or somebody,
or the people who built it or the people who built it, because that was another revelation that the progenitors actually didn't build it; they found it.
I have to, that was weird for me, but I think that was a way to have a non-ending ending or a non-explanation explanation?
I think it was
Hurdles all the way down.
Yeah, to make a bigger point in the sense that, the cycle of creation and destruction, it has no beginning, it has no end. There is no original. It's just a pattern that keeps repeating. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills,
Mm-hmm.
On this turn of the wheel, this happened. And it's sort of like that whole idea of things being created in perpetuity. So I kind of like that. And this is where we get, I think, something that I jived with personally, and maybe one of the few things in Discovery that I ever found somewhat profound. Because Michael's whole journey this season is being, what's the point of it all? What am I dedicated to? Why do I do what I do? What is the purpose? And she comes to the realization after seeing, I guess they made it very Earth-centric, where she's seeing like plants grow and rockets take off and just the cycle of life over and over again on Earth and the evolution of humanity, because this is Star Trek and that's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. The purpose is life. It's life itself. And that's why this episode is called Life Itself. And I don't know, these are final thoughts, but to me, that has always been my philosophy. When people say, what is it all for? Why are we here? And I think, are you kidding? Are you kidding? It is a mathematical, statistical impossibility that any of us exist, much less that we're friends like you and I are, that we are just a burp of sentience in an endless void. And the fact that we're even here is a goddamn miracle. So why do you need a bigger purpose than that? You exist. You are lucky to have this brief time in this sun to experience whatever you can experience. That is the purpose of life. That is why you're here. That is the point. You're here. You exist. It doesn't have to be bigger than that, because that's the biggest thing ever. And I feel like that's the realization that Michael comes to in this. And we already have infinite diversity, infinite combinations. It's nice because it harkens back to her Vulcan training and her upbringing with Sarek. And it jives with how I feel personally about why we're here in this time or any time. There doesn't have to be a reason. The fact that you're here is reason enough. So I really, really enjoyed that revelation. Now, the fact that she could just strong arm an admiral and the Red Directive and Kovich and just say, no, we're going to take the greatest tech ever devised or discovered, it turns out, and just, scuttle it. And they're like, yeah, all right. Yeah, I don't know how much I buy that, quite frankly. But
Stamets was the only one like, hey, wait a second, what do you it's like, oh, we've discovered penicillin, we've discovered a cure for cancer. Yeah, but we don't really need it.
Nobody deserves that much power.
I like that. That was beautiful. I think that's right. It's about the journey, not the destination. The destination is always just death and nothingness. The journey is what's important.
Anyway, that's how I've always felt. So
I really like it. I really like it.
It was speaking to me.
I'm picking that up. I'm loving that. Before we talk about the ending of the episode and the series and all the different endings and the codas and the wrap-ups and the flash forwards and all these things and our final thoughts and ratings, I want to introduce you to our captains. Right now, our captain is Captain Charles from Texas, and we did our first captain's table. So it's time to meet Captain Charles. What did you think of this little meeting, Chris?
I thought it was fantastic. I think everybody's in for a treat. Charles is a great guy, and we can talk more about it after we've all viewed it. So enjoy.
Treksploration.
Hello, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
This is our first captain's table, and joining us today is our first captain, a founding member of Treksploration, Charles from Texas. How you doing, Charles?
Hey, Chris, Albie. Nice to finally meet you guys.
Captain on the bridge. Bosun's whistle, please.
Yes, right here. There we go.
We need the whistle.
All right.
Should have brought the whistle.
Captain Charles. May we speak freely, Captain?
Yes, permission granted.
All right. Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Colorful metaphors allowed.
I'm in uniform. I wasn't sure if it was dress uniform tonight or what, so I just picked Tapestry album.
I'm off duty.
Okay, off duty. You can wear what you want.
Yeah.
Chris, are you on duty? Off duty? What's this going on?
I'm on different fandom tonight.
Oh, okay.
I put on my Get Leaping shirt.
Get leaping.
I was already
Yeah.
started the ale.
Romulan ale.
Nice.
Love it.
Is that just raspberry Kool-Aid?
Got a date with a monster right
Ignore
now.
the orange top. Romulans are known to
Well, it's late 21st century, 20th century. It's a good year anyway.
I mean, those orange tops are strictly for medicinal purposes anyway, as we all know.
That's right.
So yes.
Yes, it's important. You need it. All right. You are our first captain. This is our first captain's table. So basically what this is we want to find out from our crew, and specifically our captains and above, what they thought of the season we just finished. And in this case, we're talking about the final season of Discovery. So actually the whole series overall. And just before we do that, and I hear you might have a Trek and tell, but don't tell me. Before we do that, me and Chris want to know more about Captain Charles from Texas. So, Charles, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Star Trek.
Okay. Definitely from Texas. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Married. It'll be 30 years coming up in a couple of weeks.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, or I'm sorry.
Congratulations. It's been a great run.
Awesome.
Luckily, I married a Trekkie.
Awesome.
That makes one of us.
We watched All Good Things together about a month before we got married. So we got to finish out the Next Gen series that way. Got a couple kids out after high school. I'm in IT again for about 30 years. Most of that time's been in app dev, but of late I've been heading up a enterprise data analytics team. So that's been an interesting way to get a new job without changing jobs. I've been with the company I've been with for over a decade, and I'm really happy there. How I got into Trek, I think, as I said on the site, my first Trek was Star Trek II. My parents took me, when I was less than 10 years old, and then we saw Star Trek 3. And what's interesting is I don't remember them watching the series in syndication. I first started picking that up when the Fox network became brand new. They ran it on the weekends, and so I started recording them on VHS. I think I got to like 58 episodes on VHS, and then
Nice.
And then Next Gen came out. What's funny is when Next Gen first came out, I thought the ship looked a little silly. I wasn't digging the
Charles. It still does. It still does.
Come on, I'm all about the D. I love the D.
Now I love it. The curves, everything. It's and then DS9 after that. That was the first one my wife and I were able to start on. Voyager on UPN on nascent. I guess that's a second attempt for the United Paramount Network, right? Mm-hmm. Technically. And then Enterprise after that, and then Silence. We had the movies, obviously. We've seen all of those in the theater. Discovery holds a special place. We'll get into some of that a little bit later. This is the first one we're able to kick off with our kids. We started with my oldest. My youngest wasn't as interested. And then here comes the pandemic, lockdowns, and she and I started watching. I was working from home full time. She was schooling at home. We started watching during lunches, and she's all caught up now. We've seen everything, all of it together, ever since then. So I think I've caught every single episode. What's interesting is I had never seen... and I may have to forfeit my Trekkie card here. I've never seen the Crusher Ghost. I had never seen the Crusher Ghost episode till like 2 years ago in its entirety.
Sub Rosa?
Yeah, Sub Rosa. Thank you.
So that's the only one you haven't seen in its entirety.
That's the only one I hadn't seen in its entirety. I saw it a couple of years ago, and it's that one's interesting. As a creepy ghost story, it works. There's definitely some interesting elements. But anyway, so yeah, that's where my
that's very cool.
Well, if that's the only thing keeping you from getting your Star Trek card, listen, I haven't seen most of Voyager, so I don't even deserve a Star Trek card compared to you. So that's why you're a captain, and I'm just a lowly potato peeler below deck somewhere.
Right. We welcome everyone, whether they've seen just a few episodes, they only like one series, or they've seen and love it all. All levels of fandom are welcome here on Treksploration. That's what we're doing.
That's awesome. So my ego demands this because I'm Chris and I love me and I love to talk about me. How did you find Treksploration? And more specifically, I guess, broader relationship with Albert Burge, the mind, the creator of all of this stuff?
Yeah. So, going backwards, saw you guys posted your first Treksploration on the QLP channel.
Yes.
Found you guys to 2022, like Chris and I were talking about earlier. Yeah, I loved Quantum Leap as a kid. I guess I was a kid, I was a teenager. So, my wife and I watched it all the time on sci-fi reruns. And then I saw a little bit of activity flare up when sci-fi was considering a relaunch, Bold Leap Forward, and then nothing. But about every 6 to 12 months, I'd Google Quantum Leap, try to see if there was anything coming out. Nothing. And then I happened to YouTube in 2022, found the interview with Deborah Pratt, called my wife and you wouldn't believe what's coming back, and found all the pictures from the Canadian shoot, and then started following you guys. Really enjoyed watching those on my lunches the day after, leading up to the show, watching you guys and Matt and Allison, and so then here we are. But I got to say, I really appreciate you guys. I mean, you guys are a rare example out there. Yeah, there's folks that I feel that monetize sort of angst about some of the stuff out there. I feel like you guys are always very fair, but also very respectful of the material, regardless of whether you enjoyed it or not.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about Discovery, huh?
But you know what? You say that though, but I still pick up there's a level of respect there, regardless. And there's too many out there that I feel that monetize off of clicks and views, that they just generate that hatred of stuff. Whether it's new Trek or that other space franchise. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention here. Well, I guess we're talking about QLP, but
you're the captain.
Anyway,
it's up to you.
So, but anyway, that's how I discovered you guys.
I think it's phenomenal because we've been doing the QLP for so long. For us, a watershed moment was the announcement of QL 2022, and it's phenomenal to me that enabled us to find an entirely new fandom. You hadn't listened to QLP before the new show came out. It was the whole thing we did with Deborah. And for us, that's like, oh, this is like the fourth time we're speaking to Deborah. We hope somebody is still listening. And that was the way you found us. So it's always so surreal to me how you can build an audience even as late in the game as we were when we were doing the QLP. And the fact that you followed us here to Treksploration, not only that, but are supporting us. Thank you so much. It means a lot to us because, when you're talking on mic, I love to do it. I would talk to the wall if I could, but I mean, to put it out there. Yeah, he has seen it. To put it out there and to have people appreciate it, it just brings it to a completely higher level. And
Absolutely.
it's support like yours that helps us feel good about ourselves. So thank you.
Very, very glad to do it. I've been enjoying it. So looking forward to this.
So what's it like to be a captain
time
for Treksploration? What's it like to be a captain?
Apparently, it's right now. It's a prestigious and lonely position. I'm hoping that new ships join the fleet anytime now. But yeah, I know that you guys had announced this, I guess, as a perk at the very beginning. So I've been looking forward to this conversation. I definitely have thoughts on the season and the series at large. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys.
Awesome. And hopefully any new captains we get, you can help them along, show them the ropes, give them a tour of the ship.
Absolutely.
Let them know what's up. Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah. And if you'll permit, we'll serve drinks in the back somewhere. We'll be like Quark.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anything you need, Captain, we're there.
So somebody get a Ractagino jug and we'll be yeah.
Sounds good. If I might ask, since we're all about Trek here on Treksploration, you mentioned that you had seen Wrath of Khan, and that was your first
Mm-hmm.
exposure, and then you went back on. You're watching Married with Children and Star Trek apparently on Fox because that was the only thing on.
And Werewolf the series, that was the other thing. Do you remember that one?
I think that Allison, that would be an Allison thing. Yeah,
anything
with a werewolf in it. That's like the complete
she
Allison
needs to do a
thing.
series on Werewolf the series, and I think the Freddy Krueger series was on there too.
Probably, yeah. But I just want to know, since you came to it so late, and then you were a fan throughout, you watched everything through the end of what we call the golden era. What do you consider your Trek?
Oh boy!
Like where do you live in your heart?
So at Next Gen, DS9 is very close though. But I think it's probably Next Gen, just because I think that it was the first one I'd watched from the onset through the end. My parents are into it, so I watched with them. I've watched most of the reruns. I can't countless times, but probably Next Gen is where I live. But DS9's really, really close. It was interesting at first. We started watching DS9 and we stopped because some of the first seasons not at the caliber of what I consider to be quality of the rest of it. But man, when the Jem'Hadar show up in the finale of season 2, we were hooked and we never stopped. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, so Next Gen is probably where I'm most at home.
I always find it interesting to ask that, especially as you approach new Trek, where you feel you're grounded. I don't know if that affects the way that you look at the new stuff. I feel like it does, to some degree, though. So I always like to just get that basis.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because I found it's funny because I've actually learned a lot about myself through watching you guys in terms of how you analyze and break down the episode, starting with QLP and this. Is I found that a lot of I've got some friends that absolutely can't stand some of the new stuff, Trek, and then I've got some that absolutely refuse any of the post Lucas, post Disney purchase Star Wars. And I can't understand it because I've enjoyed most of it, but then I found that where I decide whether I like something is, did I have fun watching it? Did it invoke an emotional response? Then later I go back and think critically. I'm like, wow, there are some plot holes there, some missed opportunities. But for the most, and I wouldn't say that I'm easily entertained or what have you. It's more just that that's kind of the baseline for me is if I got an emotional response out of it, then I. Then it's a win for me. Later, I can be more critical. I mean, you mentioned Voyager, love Voyager, but man, what a parade of missed opportunities that show was. It could have been so much more. I think that while Next Gen's my home, I also love the original series. I think that as the new stuff goes, Disco will always have a special place in my heart because without Disco, we would not have Picard. We would not have Strange New Worlds. I love those things. I know Chris's favorite character, Mariner, on Lower Decks wouldn't exist without Disco. Anyway,
I love
I think, have you been listening to that Star Trek podcast and me reaming Mariner on that show? Yeah. Because we haven't spoken about Lower Decks much on Treksploration.
I just
not yet, anyway.
One comment. I was like, oh, Mariner's an acquired taste, I think. But but anyway, yeah. Long story, long answer.
Yeah.
We'll get there, I'm sure.
We love long answers here.
I like that you mentioned missed opportunities. I think when I do have something critical or harsh to say about Disco, it's usually about my disappointment in the missed opportunities. Yeah. What could have been if there was someone there that kind of had the whole Star Trek in their head and could just get it to that final step over that little bit. So speaking of that, let's just talk about Discovery. Let's talk about Disco. I'm glad that you enjoy it as much as you do. Tell me what you thought of the final season in general, being someone who watched it from the beginning.
So final season, we saw hints of what I think we were promised, that we would see a little bit less of the galaxy, pending doom to the galaxy arc, and then I think it turned out that wasn't true. I saw little hints of, hey, this might be a different season. And forgive me, I'm really terrible about the newer episode titles, because they don't, it's not like Next Gen where you get the episode title at the beginning. You don't get that anymore, right?
Yes.
But the episode with the marathon, the Prime Directive type episode, that was one of my favorites, I think, of the series.
Whistle Speak?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's it. The reason why I say that is it was a simple story. I love Prime Directive. We got to bust the Prime Directive to do something stories. But as far as the final season, I think it started well. I like the new Cylon first officers. Name I can't remember. Anyway,
Frylock, something like that. Praylock.
What's his name? Callum Keith Rennie? Is that his?
Oh, that guy.
He's Rayner. Rayner. They're talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, we just saw him on. I'm going to swing in another IP, Man in the High Castle. I'm finally finishing that series, and boy, there's a lot of Cylons on that show.
How is it? How is it? I watched the first season. I was like, this is intriguing, but I never went back for season 2.
Yeah. We really enjoy it. Definitely worth a look. But
Chris
as far
and I
as
love alternate history.
Oh yeah.
Surprise! I've only ever read the book, so
I think what I was sorry that it didn't go out with a bigger bang. I felt really let down by the final episode. On a bunch of different counts. One, I know that they didn't know that was going to be their finale. And they got, I think 2 days of shooting after they got the announcement. Is it okay to go into the
spoiler away?
That's why we're here.
Yep.
We got a wrap up from Michael and Book, and maybe Zora, is that the AI's name?
Yeah. With Calypso.
But nobody else. Where was my wrap up of Culber, Stamets, Reno, Reese? I mean, what was awesome the last couple episodes, Reese finally showed up. And I bet I was tweeting him, I'm sorry, Xing, whatever, how awesome it was to see him. But man, why didn't we get him out there up front much earlier? I think that you guys have even mentioned, and I definitely agree that while I love Sonequa, I love her on Walking Dead, and I love her in this role, they definitely wasted some opportunities to explore. This could have been more of an ensemble, and it wasn't, and that definitely showed in the end. We didn't get anything, in my opinion, as a sort of a wrap up for the other cast members, and even our antagonists. I felt they were let down by the end too. Maul was, what they had a fist fight or two, decided to trust each other, didn't trust each other. And then we find out, and hopefully you guys are doing spoiler alert at the beginning of this thing. Anyway, that we find out we can't bring Locke back, and she's like, oh, okay. And that's really what it felt like.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and I hate saying that because again, I feel bad because I have such a overall, I'll always love Discovery because it brought Trek back. Whatever its flaws are, if it hadn't launched basically CBS All Access and then Paramount Plus, I don't think we would have all this other stuff. So, but I think I really think they missed some opportunities to get a little bit more episodic and focus a little bit more on the ensemble. That strong ensemble they have, they just didn't use.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can call it an ensemble. They were just background extras for most of the series. And I've said this before. Name me another Star Trek series where 5 seasons in, you can't name the bridge crew. You just can't. You don't know who they are. You really don't. So again, missed opportunity, right?
Yeah. I definitely couldn't name them until you brought up that question. Then I was like, I got to learn this now.
Right.
So then
it takes a concerted effort,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot of loose ends not tied up with that finale. Of course, it has to do with them being canceled and only given a little bit of reshoots. At least they were given that. But I think one glaring example that I might mention is Stamets. Like all season, they're gearing him up to be maybe the big bad, the villain in the next season. And they had it because he's just been wanting to do something bigger than he has done. He wanted to be remembered, and he's starting to build up this, like, maybe this arc of this attitude. And then it had to be like just quashed in the end. And he was like, "You can't do that." And then the next scene, he's like, "Oh, okay, great." And like, that was his wrap up. "Oh, okay, great." And it's just weird, like things that could have been. So I almost wanted, while I was watching this finale, I wanted another season, but I was like, no, they would just squander it like they did this season. So I don't know.
That's interesting, right? Is that, I know that the Academy series is set in the same time period. I'm unrealistically hopeful that maybe we get some send-offs for these people in that series.
Yeah,
we'll see. I did think that the Holly Hunter announcement was cool. How they swung that is unbelievable. But anyway, man, and Stamets and Culber were some of my favorite characters, the two of my favorites, and they, what happened to them?
Yeah, maybe we will get some nods in the Academy series. I mean, they did mention Tilly specifically. Michael does when she's talking to Zora about how she's the longest tenured professor at the Academy at this point. So obviously we know that throughout the entire Starfleet Academy series, no matter what you see happen, Tilly's not going to die. So,
yep,
we kind of know that. We kind of know that
exactly
anyway.
The same thing. If Michael's a guest star, you can't put her in perils. It's useless, right?
Yeah, right. They can't be in peril.
It is Star Trek. She could, she could die, transfer her Katra to somebody, and then bring her back.
Got that infinity. That infinity.
There we go.
Yeah,
I thought that was wedding rings for the first couple times I watched the finale, and then I realized it was the infinity thing.
Got to talk about.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to talk about it. What are we talking about?
We're talking about the Temporal Cold War tie-in. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That got me.
So, it was interesting. It felt tacked on to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I liked the fact that, and I can't remember if it was here where you guys mentioned it or I saw it in another, where the hope was that we would never find out about his origin, that he would just be this mysterious dude out there. I kept hoping that, one of the things I always hoped on Discovery, and this is a Voyager potentially deep cut, but the Living Witness episode, where the Doctor's backup module was brought back online. Mm-hmm. Chaos ensues. He saves the day. And at the very end, it's like a holodeck within a holodeck, and they make mention that he had been their chief surgeon for some period of time and then left to go find home. I kept hoping this shuttle would show up, and here's Robert Picardo that steps out. The EMH is here.
Getting chills.
What a missed opportunity. But
right?
I kept hoping it was going to be something like that. But
that's something that Albie and I were talking about. It was last year's Trek Day, right? First Contact Day. And they played a whole bunch of stuff on Paramount for whatever reason. They played a select amount of episodes, and it was right before they premiered the 32nd Century Voyager stuff. And we just before Treksploration, but we were asking, like, why would they play Living Witness? And Albie, you had the perfect answer. You're like, it's an extended previously on, so that when they get to the 32nd century, they're priming it for Picardo to be there somehow.
I was hoping. I was hopeful. Yeah. But he's coming back. Prodigy season 2, July 1st.
Oh yeah,
on Netflix. We're getting Robert Picardo.
Very much that's it's very much a Voyager sequel from what I've read.
I think that's my favorite part of it. Season 1, Rennie's into it. Serenity, my daughter, she loves it just because I think it's aimed at her age group, that little like tween audience. So she's loving everything about it, and she loves Voyager. So she loves when the Voyager gets tied in, and I just love anything Voyager. But I'll watch any Star Trek, you know me.
Yeah,
excited for that.
Yeah,
I don't know how we're going to handle those. If they drop them all 10 or 20 at once, there's 20 of them.
I heard they're dropping them all. And so yeah, you'll be able to binge Star Trek for the first time. A new premiere.
Crazy.
Anyway.
So
yeah, I feel no obligation to watch it at light speed.
Oh,
Especially if there are 20 episodes. I mean, forget about it.
Yeah.
Man.
Luckily, they're short.
Do it at our own pace.
We're not super bingers. We the only thing we did binge was Breaking Bad, and that one that you can't do more than 4 episodes, and you feel like you gotta take a break or take a shower or something because it's it's like you're looking around like the Fed's coming. But anyway, but yeah, Kovic missed. Felt tacked on. Interesting. They had cute little things behind him on the shelf. But I think I would have almost rather, instead of that reveal, just leave him mysterious. Maybe give us some hints where it could be 3 different things.
I thought he was going to be a Q, a Trelane, something, but Daniels. I still got the chills when Daniels, because I was like, oh, they mentioned Enterprise. I love Enterprise.
So they did that whenever on in the 4th season premiere, the whole the Archer repair station or whatever, and they played a bit of the theme. That definitely gave me chills. And then seeing the displays of the Xindi Federation members on the voting screen or whatever, it was kind of cool. But anyway,
very cool. Very cool.
No, for sure. And I feel like Disco made part of its mission this season was to have callbacks in every episode, a la Lower Decks, but not for laughs, but just because they wanted to establish themselves as part of the broader universe. The second they removed themselves from the universe as we know it to forge their own path, they got all nostalgic, which was kind of weird. I guess my question to you, since this was the Trek, like you said, that kind of brought your family in, and it had all of the stuff that paved the way for a lot of the other stuff that we love, like Brave New Worlds and Strange New Worlds, rather. Brave New There's
a crossover.
What about Disco as a whole did you like best, and what did you dislike most?
Oh, wow. Gosh, that's a rough one. What did I like best? It's Star Trek.
Yeah,
in some form. I think there's we really like Saru. I especially like his season 1 and 2 arc. The Pike season with the whole, you think he's going to die, and then he just finishes his maturation, becomes an aggressive species instead of timid. I like Saru. Like I said, Culber and Stamets, they had me at the beginning. I really enjoyed them. I love seeing Culber doctor, and he got a number of opportunities this time. Sometimes I felt like I think he spent too much time as a counselor in the previous season. But it's just cool to see him do his thing. I love the ship. I love the concept of the jump drive. I know that's probably a controversial thing with a lot of Trekkie fans out there. I think it's more emotion based as far as what I liked about it. I enjoyed it, especially being able to watch it with my kids, and they enjoyed it too. What did I dislike the most? I think it's the super adherence to the story arc. I felt that was overdone. I think shows, if you look at the other Trek series pre Discovery, each of them got their, they had 22 to 26 episode seasons. One could argue that in the later seasons it's probably too much. I think that most TV shows that get to that point ought to start trimming. You get a lot of fat in there, but in the early to yes, Masaka has awakened or whatever. Anyway,
I still want one of those masks.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would kill for one. But anyway, Discovery was never given the opportunity to have that one-off classic episode, which I feel that Strange New Worlds does a lot better, right? You've got you had season 1, you had the recurring arc with Pike and him coming to terms with his fate. I hope I'm not spoiling anything for Chris here. And then in season 2, while they had the Gorn arc and some of the other things, I mean, the fact that they can do a one-off and it's its own unit, there's just something special about that. Like Living Witness is one on Voyager. That is one of my favorite Trek episodes of all time. The Visitor from DS9, man.
Yeah.
Fathers and
Great.
Sons, or Kids and Fathers, huge episode. Discovery never had. I don't think there's one episode I can think of that I want to run and go see again as a kind of its own unit. There's a couple that I really like. I love the first season, right before they jump to the mirror universe, and it's more just technical cool, where the ship is jumping around the Klingon ship over and over. It's like, okay, that's how you use a jump drive, where it was jumping around trying to get the measurements or whatever. But I think that their story arcs hurt them. And I don't know. So that's the long-winded answer. I think overall, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it existed because it kicked off so much more.
Yeah.
And the actors, I can't fault them at all. I think that they did the best of their material, and the performances are excellent. I can't beat Jet Reno.
She's awesome. Yeah. I think that's what I feel mostly bad about when I do criticize Discovery, is because so many people do such great work on the show. It's just the overall stories and direction the show, I was going to say is going, but it already went. It just, what might have been. So, So I want to definitely be sure when I do this, because during our recording for the Double Disco series finale, which Christopher and I haven't recorded yet, we're going to be doing that soon. I definitely want to be brutally honest about how I feel about the ending and the whole series overall, but I definitely don't want people to think that I don't appreciate their hard work.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean,
that's a tightrope we had to learn to walk with the new QL, because it was the first time we were talking about a show, Quantum Leap anyway, that was currently on the air. I had done other podcasts with shows that were on the air. Yeah, but the thing is, like the other ones that I did, like 11/22/63, it was me and Skip, and we were going to do Castle Rock, but we felt no compunctions about shitting all over 11/22/63 because we had invested so much in the book.
First colorful metaphor, I think.
Yeah, there we go.
Double dumbass on you.
And honestly, we got it was funny to us because we got the advanced screeners for 11/22, but we still felt no hesitation in saying how terrible we thought the adaptation was. It became a little bit more difficult to walk that line with Quantum Leap because everybody in that cast and crew was so, present and giving and contacting us. And so it not only do you not want to take away from everybody that's doing their best to put on a show, but you have to learn that, sometimes you don't pull punches, but there's always a way to frame things in a respectful manner that enhances a conversation, not just shuts it down. And that's what we always try to do. Even if we don't like something, we try to contribute to a broader context. So I think that's what I hope people recognize. Like you were saying, it's not just clickbait and dissing. Discoing.
That can be difficult. Luckily, it wasn't for me because I loved Quantum Leap. But when you're texting on a daily basis, showrunners and producers and writers, and the writer of the finale says, I can't wait till you watch this. This is so cool. You'll love this and that. How could you criticize all their hard work and their love for it? But luckily, I felt I loved the whole thing. So. I was good.
Yeah, and I think every show is sort of a collection of all the individual efforts. I feel are good. Writers do their best with the direction they're given. Showrunners do their best with all the pieces they put in place. We know that showrunners and writers and directors, they do not go uninfluenced by entities outside the creative process. I think that and I don't know if that happened here. I know that happens in other productions where folks that aren't necessarily in the creative process lean in and say, no, this is how things should go. But yeah, the individual actors, the showrunners, I don't disparage anybody individually. And like I said, overall, I'm so glad Discovery exists versus it not.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would echo that statement and just say overall as a series, I think what happened with me was I loved so many things about the show, but after it was over, like each episode, I didn't have that feeling like I was like psyched and jazzed and like I want to just watch it right again. And I always was disappointed by loving so much of it, but not getting that high from it. Maybe, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like here's an example. DS9's finale. I remember I kept that thing on. I guess it was a TiVo at the time.
Yeah,
maybe?
I had 4 TiVos.
I kept that thing forever. More recent series, Better Call Saul. Man, I watched the last courtroom scene of that thing probably 15 times. There's stuff that just sticks with you. There's little moments in Discovery that are kind of like I don't mind seeing little snippets on YouTube. I like Burnham's when Burnham and Georgiou and Mira Lorca are fighting on the Charon, and she finally gets the best of him. And that whole speech where she says, "We would have helped you get home if you had asked." That's who Starfleet is. That's who I am. That gives me chills right now. That's some good stuff. So there's diamonds in the rough over there. Everybody's. I think every member of the cast, every writer, they had a moment like that. So. Yeah.
I think there was people who got it and it slipped through here and there. There are great moments.
Albie, you're the greatest.
All right. Well, that's basically the end of disco and disco in general and how we feel. And I appreciate that, Charles. Now, we talked a little bit earlier that you might have a Trek and Tell. I see a couple things behind you, a couple of Funkos even I don't have, and some amazing artwork. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So the first one, this is Burnham and Saru. Got some.
Nice.
I felt that would be appropriate here. And then this right here, can you see it clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a birthday present that my wife got me last year.
Wow.
Not sure where she found it, but she had asked me out of the blue about a couple months before, "What's your favorite division? Is it science or command or operations?" I'm like, I guess science. And so this is
I might be cosplaying you.
And yeah, and so it's very. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Anyway, it's almost lower decks-ish artwork on the Enterprise D bridge, but yeah, it is fantastic.
That's very
One
nice.
of my favorite birthday presents.
Wow. Captain Charles'
so
good wife.
Yeah. So for everyone listening on the exclusive Patreon podcast feed, this looks like an animation cell from a lower deck style animation with Charles in the Science's blue uniform on the bridge of the D. It's really
all about the
really
D.
freaking cool, man.
Very,
Really
very
cool.
Then the other thing I have, it's got a little bit of a story to it. So I've got my Enterprise cap here. So a few years ago, where were we flying? We were going to Tennessee, see my some of my family got family that moved out to Tennessee, and we're going to see them for Thanksgiving. Anyway, I decided I want to be really comfortable on the plane, so I bought some comfortable pants, comfortable shirt, comfortable jacket. Didn't realize till later that my ensemble, I mean, the color of the pants matched the jacket. My ensemble probably was more appropriate for somebody maybe a few decades older than I am. And anyway, I'm wearing this shirt, checking in my luggage, and a lady passes me and thanks me for my service. And before I can correct her, she's through the doors and gone. So there's a lady out there somewhere that thinks that I served on the USS Enterprise.
Or she's just a huge Trekkie and was living it. That's
maybe,
awesome.
But she was very much in a rush, very serious. I mean, she was very glad that I had served.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny stuff.
That's awesome.
At least you got a reaction. I wear my NXO-1 cap as much as I can, and still no one has name dropped Enterprise.
Oh man!
One day I will.
So gotta love Enterprise. Gotta love Enterprise. Especially, I mean, freaking Scott Bakula on Star Trek. I still can't get over that. Today.
Speaking of, we got to figure out what we're wearing when we meet Scott Bakula next, Chris. I was thinking full Enterprise dress uniform. You were like, yeah,
I think I'll just wear a shirt and pants.
Shirt? Should we get Enterprise shirts? Should we get Treksploration shirts? I don't know. What should we do?
Maybe a Treksploration shirt. I might do that. Yeah. Okay.
I am curious about. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to talk to him, or what are his thoughts of post Enterprise? How was? What is he?
Yeah,
how does he look back at the experience?
We've spoken to him regarding Quantum, the new Quantum, but he is never. I don't think we've ever asked them though, Albie. I don't know if anyone has.
No, when
what
I
his
I
thoughts
spoke to
are
him
on new Trek.
when I spoke to him over the phone for that phone interview, we talked just about Enterprise. We never went past Enterprise.
Yeah, that's what I. Let me rephrase. What are his thoughts about Enterprise today?
Oh. He enjoyed the experience. He wished it had gone longer because he was planning to direct, but that didn't happen. So, and he was disappointed in the finale, and
he's
very
been
few
on
things
record.
upset him, and that was one of them.
Very, very, very spot on. I love Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, but it was a bad call in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think that would have been good, like second to last episode without the fast forward and what happens for the rest of their story arcs, but then gave Enterprise the original, their own ending.
Why try to set it during Next Gen? Why not? Why isn't it? Why couldn't they have said, "Hey, let's give them a little snippet of the Titan," and they're on the Titan?
Because Charles, it's a love letter to the fans. Charles, so. Get on board, Captain Charles.
I'm sorry. Yes, that episode was right after the RoboCop trilogy, right? Wasn't that?
Lots of Peter Weller.
Yeah. Anyway.
So well, I mean, I can't wait to, now that I gotta be just clear here. Albie and I discussed Disco a lot. I'm happy that we're post Disco now because we can start talking about shows that we actually genuinely love instead of are just getting through. I'll just leave that there. But we've not been any strangers to saying what we like and what we don't like about Disco. So it'll be fun to go back to the classic or the golden era. I guess we have the golden age, which is TOS, and the silver age, if you're going to put it in comic book terms, right? Mm-hmm. So what are we in? I guess we're in the bronze age now.
I don't know what they're officially categorized at, but that's what I think of them as. So
those old scientist phase. And
right.
So that's what we're still working on. What shows we're going to cover, because we want to cover it all. And then these damn new episodes keep coming out, so it keeps.
You've got Strange New, and I don't know when Strange New Worlds is coming back. My feeling is I bet it's January.
I think they said 2025.
2025. Okay, so we got a good 6 months. To get
you guys plan on covering that while it's out?
I think so, because I'm a huge fan. I mark out for Strange New Worlds big time. So
and I feel like we have to draw a line though, because again I can't see doing Prodigy, but maybe we will.
Not right away. But the one thing about Enterprise is it's only 4 seasons, is it?
Yeah.
So we'll run out of Enterprise before we run out of the other shows that are 7 seasons. So that'll give us time to do the other things.
Yeah,
can't wait to see you guys do that.
Yeah. We're still figuring it out.
Dear Doctor's one of my favorite.
Still a work in progress.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys.
We're still trying to figure it out. I think we decided we would decide like on the fly.
Yep, that's what we're going to do.
What are your thoughts, Charles? And I'll get your thoughts, Chris, and then I'll have thoughts.
Okay.
What are you most looking forward to, Charles, for like us covering episodes?
Wow. Tough one, because like Chris said, you guys are I like that you guys are looking forward to covering one that you have overall great feelings about, with the occasional fistful of datas and masks and all that. but man, that's a tough one. I'm enjoying your Next Gen series. It's going to take you a while to get through there.
Yeah.
I would, but Enterprise, I don't know how much coverage it's gotten. I mean, I know you've had the shuttle pod podcast. Yes. I never watched much of it.
Shuttle pod show, pretty good. They got great interviews. It's worth a watch. They're doing something else now.
Decon. It's called Decon. You're talking about Dominic and Connor's show?
Yes.
They're premiering it on Gates McFadden's Investigates. I think her season opener for Investigates is also going to be the launch of the Decon Chamber, which is Dominic Keating and Connor Trenier. They've rebranded Shuttle Pod as Decon.
They had some kind of problem with the producer or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it seemed not
Hollywood problems.
Friendly, yeah.
Yes.
But as far as answering your question, maybe maybe do first season Next Gen, and then pop in and do one of the films. You're talking about Prodigy. Maybe you don't have to cover the entirety of Prodigy. Maybe you do a special Prodigy episode. Maybe you invite some guests of the younger demographic to come and give their.
If only I knew them.
Wait till you hear my crazy idea, but that's for later. Okay. So
yeah,
things
and
like that.
Yeah,
Chris.
I like doing keeping Next Gen as the basis for all of it, and then keeping the other stuff as bonus content. And quite frankly, we could get like a twister spinny thing that just points to a show, and then we could pick a random episode of any of the other shows. There's so much to talk about with just Next Gen alone. That's going to keep us busy for years. And then if we do the other stuff as bonus content, it's just going to be nice. I feel if we hopscotch around a little bit. Which would be cool.
So, and maybe there's an episode of Next Gen that fits nicely with a Voyager or DS9 episode, and you can do kind of a spin-off of or discussion on that. I don't know if you want to break the sequence or not, but
these are the Pegasus Voyages.
Yeah, like time travel month. We're going to cover
the cute box set
episodes of the Prime Directive episodes. Anyway,
so for the most part, I want to keep linear for each series, so people can follow along with us if they're doing it for the first time. Because that's a big chunk of audience. Star Trek's always grabbing new people. Hopefully, still. And I had an idea. What do we got? We got original series, and we're already doing Next Gen.
And TAS. We have TOS and TAS.
Yeah. TOS and TAS, the animated series. We got Voyager, we got Deep Space Nine, and we got Enterprise. So what is that, 6?
And we have Picard. And we have
Picard. Well, see, I'm considering Picard as seasons of Next Gen. So when we get after the movies of Next Gen, do Picard.
Because that's make me watch seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, are you?
What about the movies? Are you going to do the movies?
We'll do the movies in order in there. Yeah.
We're going to do the hell out of Generations, my friend.
Yeah, I ordered Insurrection and Nemesis audiobooks last night. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
Retail therapy is getting crazy, but I need more Trek and Tell, so not really.
There's some crazy lore about
Albie, you don't need more Trek and Tells.
What were you saying, Charles? Captain Charles?
There's some crazy lore out there about Nemesis and Insurrection, about how it was originally one movie and they split it into 2 and totally different ideas either way.
I just saw a thumbnail on YouTube about that. I haven't watched it yet though, so I'm excited to watch that one. So here's my idea. Since we have more series than because we do, I think, 8 episodes a month. That's our goal. Life happens. Chris travels. I travel. Things come up. He's got a real job, and I have a child, so things come up. I'm thinking, and this is crazy because I've heard there are other Star Trek podcasts, but I don't think any of them have ever done this, because a lot of Star Trek podcasts, what happens is people will listen to the Next Gen, and then when they get to Deep Space Nine, they'll drop off, or when they get to whatever series they don't like, they'll drop off. My thought is, since our goal is to cover all Star Trek episodes eventually, and at least until one of us dies and then is replaced by somebody else, and then that other person dies and is replaced by someone else, kind of like Kiss, and you just keep going, or is it, I don't know, the ink spots? I'm not sure. Anyway, so my thought is...
Ship of Theseus at that time, is it still the Treksplorers podcast?
Is it still Treksploration? We won't know. We'll be dead. But, you guys can decide. We'll put that up as a poll after we're both dead. But anyway, so my thought is, I know one of your favorite episodes, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, is The Cage, right?
Susan Oliver, painted green.
Yes.
Are you kidding?
Yes. I've spent many nights with that VHS tape when I was a kid. Just saying. So I'm thinking, this is what I'm thinking. We love all Star Trek, and we're talking about all Star Trek. So we're of course, we're going to stick with our Next Gen. We're going to do our Next Gen once a week, or thereabouts, until it's done. Then go to the Next Gen movies, and then go to the Picard. But I think when it comes to the original series, the animated series, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, that's what I'm counting on as the main Trek in our brains for our generation anyway. We just go Episode 1, Episode 1, Episode 1, Episode 1, Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 2, Episode 2, Episode 2. So it won't be regular. It'll be more like shifting by a week each time or so.
Yeah,
but we'll
people
get
tune
through them
in
all.
and I like that.
So it's a concurrent rewatch of all of Trek series.
Wow, you used that very well. Concurrent.
I did.
Like it.
Yay!
Yeah, you did it, Albie.
I wasn't sure. I didn't look it up. I figured
That'd
I'd cut
be
it out
rough.
later.
You know what? You're gonna have to bleep me here, but I love the way you always play yourself off as clueless. You were always the smartest motherfucker in the room.
I don't see it, but I appreciate your confidence.
Of course you don't, you liar. Anyway.
The Pikes Peak gives it away. I think it's yeah.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I'll get there. There we go.
Awesome.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I think that's great. Yeah. I mean, I was doing a chronological rewatch up until you waylaid me to do this. So anything that I can do, because I was working my way through Next Gen and really missing watching DS9, really missing maybe getting into Voyager, I was doing it in a way that it was preventing me from enjoying the stuff I love because I was trying to get through it in a certain way. Mm-hmm. I think this is just what I need to sort of reinvigorate once again my fandom. That happens every few years. You have to sort of invest in your fandom the way you invest in a relationship, any good relationship. You have to find ways to keep it fresh, to keep it new, to keep it going. And I feel like that's a good way for us to approach it. So I like it. Yeah.
So
I like it.
Rough outline, rough thought of the process. We'll see what comes out. We'll see what we'll do. I know we're doing Justice next, right?
Oh, I cannot wait to reveal my pet name for that episode.
Yes, not yet. Not yet. We'll wait till we get there.
I'm going to ask Captain
That's
Charles.
Are you ready?
Crusher.
That's the Wesley Crusher, scantily clad.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Why I love that show. Yes.
Are you ready for some trivia?
Sure.
We got you for 3, Charles from Texas. This is from the CNIT cards that Albie and I always do. And if you can't get these, you're really a pretty shitty Star Trek fan. Okay. In the Voyager episode.
Nothing to do with that. You never know.
We top off my ale. Anyway, go ahead.
You're going to know this one. I never would have gotten this. I would have been a shitty fan. In the Voyager episode State of Flux, which Maquis officer is revealed as a Cardassian spy?
Seska.
Okay, that's too easy. I never would have known that, but you're right.
I have the action figure.
All right.
Another missed opportunity, but I can go on for days.
Who's Seska now? In the Deep Space Nine episode Sacrifice of Angels, how does the lone USS Defiant manage to survive coming up against the entire Dominion fleet inside the wormhole?
The prophets intervene and make the fleet vanish.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The wormhole aliens caused Dominion Ex Machina ships to vanish. And you're never going to get this one, so I'm sorry. But who plays Guinan?
Whoopi Goldberg. Yes.
I'm sorry, they were looking for the Picard Guinan, so you lose.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That one I don't know. I don't know her name yet. We got to get there.
Darn, got me.
So that's 3 for 3, Charles from Texas.
Awesome.
Thank you, Captain Charles. You've earned those pips, sir.
Captain Charles is, in fact,
keep my rank. No demotion.
Yes.
So, and for you, it would be pips. They can be other captains. You can have the sleeves if you want. Yeah, you can be old school, and you could also, like the disco, you can have them on your badge. It's not a comm. It's still a mission patch in disco. It's not a comm yet.
So that's interesting, right? Is that, and I hope this is more obscure. Hopefully it is. I never got the rank insignia from the movie era, the maroon uniforms.
Yeah. Charles, I went down a rabbit hole with that. I went from TMP, and all that. I mean, every single one of those colors, though. The colors on the fields behind the mission patches all meant something. The colors of the uniforms versus that meant something. It was so involved. And then I got to know the ones on the Munster Maroons that were on the shoulder. So yeah, you can recognize those more easily.
Okay, so, I need to go back and look.
Yeah, you should go. It's very interesting to me, all that stuff. I think we talked about it the last time when we were talking about O'Brien and how his rank has changed throughout the entire series, and even his insignias have changed because they couldn't figure out what to do with it.
He went from officer to enlisted, back and forth. I think.
Yeah,
he was officer in Counter at Farpoint, right, and then shifted to enlisted
shifted
after.
to a chief or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
It might be like a Thomas Riker.
One of my
thing,
favorite characters in all of Trek. I was one of the things that I was hoping that the Academy series would be set in the Picard time frame. I think that's where, isn't that where O'Brien went at the end of DS9? Wasn't he going to teach at the Academy?
That sounds familiar.
Can't remember.
That'd be great.
But alas,
They'll have the O'Brien wing, I guess.
Before we go for our final thoughts and ratings from Charles, remember to thank Charles of some funny objects on your ratings out of 5. Before we do that, Christopher, could you tell people listening out there that want to be members of our crew and perhaps be a captain, just like Captain Charles from Texas? Could you tell them how to do that?
Sure. The easiest way to do so is to go to patreon.com/Treksplorers. That's where we have our crew of intrepid Treksplorers is what we're calling our fans. So that's patreon.com/Treksplorers. You can see all of the membership levels there, including Captain, which I believe is 17. No, that's Lieutenant Commander. Captain's 47, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's 47. So thank you, Charles. That's $47 a month for the captaincy. So you can do that over there, but you don't even have to pay. You can join there for free as well. You can just be part of our Treksplorer community over there. So please check that out at patreon.com/Treksplorers. And for those of you listening who are already members, you can always upgrade to Captain and join us on the next Captain's Table. This is the first time we're hearing from Captain Charles from Texas, but it won't be the last time because we will be doing one of these every time we finish a series, whether it be old or new. We're going to get everybody in on the party because that's what we love. We love connecting with all of you out there who are watching and listening. So thank you very much.
All right. So Captain Charles from Texas. I'm going to say that again. Okay. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe I was up till 4 a.m. last night making a scale model of the Gershwin Theater. Okay. But besides that, Dad, I need a Gershwin Theater tonight for my final project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. Turned out good, though, I think.
Yeah. I haven't had one of those. I've had the day of, but never the night of. The projects that were unannounced until
until the night before or something. You're like, what? I think the worst one was like, I have to be a pirate in 2 hours. It's pirate day at school. What? Okay, let's go. Okay. Let's get your pirate outfit. I don't know, but anyway, space pirate, that would have been good. Captain Charles from Texas. Final thoughts on the series finale, 2 parts, because that's what we're talking about, and maybe the season overall of Star Trek Discovery, and your rating out of 5.
2-part finale. Part 1 was I enjoyed part 1 more than part 2. I liked the action. I loved that was the infiltration, right? Where they infiltrated the Breen ship. Mm-hmm. Really enjoyed that one. I felt let down by the second half. I just felt that it was a little too. I think they spent all their energy on the first one and ran out of steam. As far as those episodes of season as a whole, I give it 3 Quatloos out of 5. Mm-hmm. Good effort, but I think there were plenty of more of opportunities to get through that season in a different way that they had inferred they would be doing when they first announced this season, and I don't feel that panned out.
Okay, we'll take it.
3 out of 5.
I too was excited for that second to last episode, the penultimate episode, where they actually teamed up and went on a mission as a team together to do stuff. Things that I was excited because I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe they'll start to. Oh, never mind. It's the end of the show. End of the season. End of the series.
Wow. All right. So Albie and I will be elaborating on all of these thoughts in the main discussion.
Yes, our 2-part disco duo for the last 2. All right. So for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
I'm Chris.
I'm Charles from Texas.
Captain Charles.
Captain Charles from Texas. You earned that, sir. You wear that badge with honor.
Thank you, guys. Really enjoyed this. This was a great time. I'm looking forward to the next one.
It was so awesome meeting you, Captain. Okay, we'll see you next time.
All right.
Wow, Captain Charles, captain on the bridge. We met the captain. That I felt pretty special. I was almost in dress uniform, but I at least I got in uniform.
Yeah, it's always great to me when you meet a fellow fan of anything and you can just have such a freewheeling discussion. But I mean, Charles, we've known this from the letters that he's sent and all of the feedback that he's given. He treats things in a very substantive way. So he's not just here to shit on it. He's not just here to take. I mean, we do anyway, but there's a there. So thank you, Charles. I mean, you fit right in. You fit right in, and we're proud to have you as part of the Treksplorers community. It's proud to call you a Treksplorers, proud to call you our captain. Oh, captain, our captain.
Captain, oh, captain, our captain. Captain of the Treksplorer. The Treksploration? I don't know. What is our ship called? Do we know? We
haven't said that.
No,
the Porthos. I think our ship should be the Porthos.
The Porthos. Captain of the Porthos. I like that. Porthos. Where's Porthos? he's napping. He had too much cheese. He's down by his little doggy bowl on his mat. I know he's a plush, but he's real to me, damn it. So we have these endings. We have the final bit of the episode. They just push the tech right past the event horizon of the black hole, and they're like, "We're good."
Yeah. Then
what happens?
Oh, and then we get the biggest reveal of Disco ever, aside from Lorca being Mirror Lorca. It turns out that Kovic has a long pedigree. It's been a long road,
from there,
linking from this to that.
So what did you think of Kovic's office with these props? These were just like somebody Google Star Trek things. There are Star Trek things, right?
Yeah.
You need Star Trek things on the shelf. What are Star Trek things?
Let's find the
Why
cheapest
is there
things we
baseball
can.
and a banana comb up there.
Right. We can put a banana clip. Okay, paint that gold. Baseball. If we can find one of those out in the field, and a shitty old bottle, well, just slap a Picard label on it.
Chateau Picard. So dirty and dusty, but the baseball was immaculate. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And how did they wrestle that from? Wait, I guess he went in and got it. He yoinked it after DS9 was decommissioned and put in mothballs, and Kira was dead, and there was no one to carry on Ben's legacy. You think Jake would have had that somewhere, but it's centuries later. So
yeah, that's
anybody that would have had a personal connection to it is probably dust, long dead.
I have to say, while I'm watching the episode, like this is the first Star Trek series finale I didn't get choked up and teary-eyed and like sad about it. Like I'm losing part of my life. I'm losing this Star Trek. And it's the end. I didn't have that, like last episode of MASH crying kind of thing going on. But like I got kicked in the feels when Kovic revealed that he was Daniels.
Yeah, I thought it was a neat twist. I liked it. I have a real soft spot for Enterprise, as anyone who has looked at our Treksploration art can tell. I wanted to be in the Archer uniform. I wanted to be on the NX, and I didn't like the idea of the temporal Cold War, but I like the fact that if they introduced it, and so we're going to embrace it into the wider franchise as a whole and use it as a way to explain some of the visual discrepancies, as they did in Strange New Worlds with just and a throwaway line, which was just perfect. But the fact that they made him Daniels, I enjoyed that because I liked the way that Enterprise wrapped up the temporal Cold War. I liked the interaction between Jonathan and Daniels I think it was the end of the fourth, the beginning of the fifth season. No, it's the end of the third, beginning of the fourth season, right? When they wrapped up all of the bullshit arcs before Manny took over, right?
Yep.
So I felt a genuine connection. I think that the props were superfluous, but if you're going to have a twist and try to tie everything together and make it one big happy universe, that's a good way to go. That's a good way to go. I don't know if I buy. I guess Daniels is in different bodies now.
Well, I looked it up. After the episode ended, I looked up Daniels again to get like a face to face, and they had the similar chin, similar nose, similar ears. Of course, nose and ears are bigger, older. So it definitely looks like it could be an older version of the same Daniels.
I just think that I think he even said of many bodies, I've lived many lives or something like
many,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
names, faces.
So maybe
whatever.
they're indicating that there's future tech where they can do what Maul wanted to do for Locke, essentially.
Oh, and they mentioned while Maul is recovering in sickbay that Kovic wants to recruit her for something.
For Section 30 Infinity.
That's what I thought it was Section 31 at first before they revealed that it was Daniels, but is maybe for the temporal, the time travel police people. I don't know.
What has Maul done in this entire season to make you think that she would be capable of any kind of responsibility, of any kind of allegiance to anything? All she has done is pout and snork and fight through this entire freaking season. She's done nothing but attack people recklessly to get what she wants at any cost. What?
I know we differ on this opinion, but I think she's hot, and I think that's part of having your own spinoff is being
doesn't make a difference.
I want to see Maul, Locke, and Reese, and maybe Linus in the spinoff.
We'll there we go.
The mentor program, right?
It's going
what
to
did you
be,
think of that line? What does that mean? What are we in store for with that? The mentor program, was that something for the new Starfleet Academy?
Oh yeah, it had to be. It had to be. So
is Starfleet headquarters the new Starfleet Academy? Like at the end, they're jumping ahead a little bit. There's all these like little ships, like the copy paste fleet almost. Are those like classrooms, or is there no San Francisco anymore? I forget.
I don't know, because this Earth wasn't a part of the Federation when we got to the 32nd century. So who knows? I mean, Starfleet has now been living in this nether space, hiding from the Orion Syndicate when we first started. So it was very decimated. So I can't imagine that they'd be back in San Francisco, because they're in a completely different reality now.
So like they won't even have a campus. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, but it'll be like a space station. So
yeah, the whole show will be on the volume, the virtual wall.
yeah, exactly. It'll be DS9, the high school years.
Yeah, I'm not gonna poo-poo it until I see it. I'm hoping, I don't know who the showrunners are, but I'm hoping it's not the Disco showrunners. I hope they're done with Star Trek.
Yeah, no, it's going to be the Disco showrunners. I mean,
come on.
Well,
Michelle
they got
Paradise
Tilly.
And Alex
Tilly.
Kurtzman.
Why wouldn't they give? Well, Kurtzman is like the overall. Is it him and Akiva Goldsman?
Overall. I feel like he gave Michelle Paradise the deciding vote on many things, because he's part of all the other shows that are pretty good. So
yeah, I couldn't tell you. I look at it this way. I mean, it's Starfleet Academy. They've been threatening to do it for decades now. Some kind of Starfleet
since
Academy.
I was a teenager, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they were going to do it in TOS timeline.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming. The fact that they're going to set it in the 32nd century, I think that works, because you can have a through line. Obviously, Tilly's going to be part of it, even though Mary won't talk about it. They say, old Burnham tells the son that she's been the longest tenured teacher at the academy ever, or whatever. And so this is far in the future. Like, Tilly's obviously been a professor there for decades. So
I like Tilly. Yeah. I like Mary Wiseman. So I'm excited for that part of it. And of course, we got Holly Hunter. So maybe. So, but we'll see. We'll see how the writing is.
I can't wait to see the hunky teens. That's all. When they have,
I hope there's vampires and werewolves.
I want that. And there's going to be that shirtless tournament of Parisi squares.
Yes,
where they're all done. Yes,
that's going to be a big deal. Like, everybody's going to be Parisi squares all the time.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we kind of meandered our way. We kind of meandered our way into this, but the many endings. I think we should go through them one by one. For me, the overall in the many endings was when I thought it ended, I was like, oh, it's over. Oh, okay, some more. Oh, it's over. Okay, some more. Oh, it's over. And I was like, what is going on? It's like, you thought you were done.
Thought you were done.
So what was the first ending? What was the first ending?
I think the wedding, right? It was
the wedding. That was nice. I like to see
it was Saru and Serena's wedding, which was very nice.
Costuming. The costuming on the wedding gown and tux was beautiful.
All right. I mean, it's space wedding.
Space wedding on the beach.
We already saw Will and Deanna's wedding, so we didn't need to see
the visual effects on the beach for whatever that wedding tent was a little clunky for me. It looked like it wasn't anchored to anything. It was kind of like somebody had a quick like temp shot and it made it into the episode.
It's a space tent.
Go back and look at it.
Doesn't need an anchor. It's a space tent. It doesn't need an anchor.
Okay, that's true. Maybe they're floating.
Right.
Yeah,
right. They have floating canopies. It's an anti-grav canopy.
It's just the parallax didn't work for me. So
yeah. Well, I mean, hey, listen, you have a couple of Bellinis at the reception, you're going to be just fine.
This is true. It'll make it better. I like seeing Book again after some time because what did it say? Several weeks later.
Yeah,
I think that was to explain people's different haircuts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't digging Sonequa's hair at the wedding.
The swoop around
the swoopy braid was a little distracting to me.
Mm-hmm. But Book's hair, that looked cool. I think.
So
Book
I mean,
good. And Book
so that
weight.
tells you where we were.
Weight.
Right.
Yeah.
It tells you. Yeah, I guess when they called David back for the reshoots, he was shredding for keto. Maybe he's got another role that he's working on. Right.
He had a rough time with, was it Talaxian Pirates again or what was it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So this to me also seems like this would have been shot specifically for the season finale. This is how they would have ended it. And then maybe they inserted the Michael Book stuff in to set up the new ending, the old ending, or maybe that's just the way it was always going to be. Either way, I liked it. I bought it. I wanted those two crazy kids to get back together, and damn it, they did. So
when they were on the beach kissing, they were finally together and a happy ending, and the two kids got together. I did have feelings. I was like, I'm so glad for them. More as I was glad for Book that his life turned out well. I didn't really care as much about Michael's adventure, and she still seemed not into it. To me a little bit, but I think for me, like even in the later scenes too, when it was less about Michael and Book and more about Sonequa and David being themselves more, I enjoyed their connection and their chemistry. But yeah, the kissing was kind of hot.
There you go.
But, and then I thought it was over, and I thought that would have been a good, like ending, like, they have the infinity thing and they get called away on a mission. That might be fun. And then, done. And I'm good. I'm like, okay, that's a good ending. Another ending? What was the next one? And then, no, and then, and then, no, and then, and then, no, and then, and then. That's what it was. It was, dude, sweet. Okay. What was the next ending? Did it fly forward there to old Michael, old Burnham?
Okay. Old Michael, old Book. Now Michael's an admiral. Mm-hmm. Book is a house husband. I guess they used some of the world route from Quajon to recreate a piece of Quajon around the house where they lived, which was, they always live in these idyllic locations, these idyllic rustic locations in Star Trek,
and like they're the only people on the whole planet. It very much gave me Riker and Deanna vibes from Picard,
right.
Except it was red this time.
Yeah. Because of the Quajon world route, I guess.
I almost got the feeling like before we saw Book, I thought maybe that, Book hadn't made it that far. And like we had lost Book or something like that. And like I said, in the Captain's Roundtable, I thought that little infinity thing on the dresser was like their wedding rings or something. Mm-hmm. So I thought we were like looking at Widow Burnham maybe. But so when Book showed up, I was very happy that they were still together and still happy old people.
I just love that she just leaves this thing that can bring you to the infinity room, just lying around.
Well, they're the only people on the planet.
I guess. Yeah. You know what? You're right. When you're right, you're right.
That's security, right? And you probably got monitors.
I don't know. Somebody broke that fence. She was rebuilding that fence. So.
It was Alice. It was that.
It could be for Alice.
Peacock
Alice wants to eat the infinity thing.
I did like the Alice call back to her time reading Through the Looking Glass and Alice in Wonderland kind of stuff.
So
from season 1.
I feel like all of this is where the reshoots are. Like, so they got David, they got Sonequa, and they were able to get the set out of mothballs one last time and just bring her, first of all, introduce the fact that they have a son. I kind of like that. Yeah. Introduce the fact that the son was going to be deployed on some ship. I don't remember the name, if they gave a name.
I don't think they said. Yeah. I don't think they said.
But he was a captain, so he's like new Captain Burnham. So that's Captain Michael's Burnham. Legacy there, He seemed cool too. Yeah, he seemed like a good kid. Mm-hmm.
I like the family together hugging. I like that. I like the happiness. I like he was doing his old retro, trying to have Riz and all that stuff. A little anachronistic, right? But still could be, right? You can go,
Yeah.
so
See?
right?
I'm
So
the
they
bee's
can do it
knees,
that in the
see?
future. So, you know. This is the first time I've seen old age makeup in Star Trek actually work and look good. For me, it worked. They weren't like, what was it? The Deadly Years, where they're like with toilet paper all over their face, you know. And
Oh,
they
it's the
looked
one
like,
with the guy who de-ages.
oh, too short a season. Don't get me
Oh,
started
the
on that.
worst, the worst.
The worst.
Holy
It
crap.
spoils the whole episode, the bad makeup. But this one, you know, because back in the 60s and even back in the 80s, like 80-year-old people look like they were 200, but now 60, 70, 80-year-old people look like they're in their 50s, early 60s. It's just, you know, we're not all drinking lead and smoking cigarettes all day, you know. So I
Speak
think
for yourself.
I think the slight aging they did to age them up. I think if you go, I don't know how many years later it is, but if we do the math,
I'd say at least 30, right? Because they got this.
So in 30 years, I think
you're going to
that's how they'll look.
you're going to be in your mid 30s before you get a captaincy.
Probably.
Right. They even said Kirk was the youngest captain in the fleet, and he was 34. So.
Yeah, but I think they did good with the old age makeup, so I was happy with that.
So, yeah, I thought it was fine. I'm trying to think of another instance in Trek where we have some aging.
Too short a season,
worked.
the Deadly Years. Pulaski in that one episode where they have to beam her out and beam her in.
She went from old to older. I mean, so there wasn't a lot of stretch there. They
had to make. And
you'll soon learn this. I'm not shitting on Pulaski. Pulaski is maybe one of my favorite characters in all of Star Trek history. But
she's a great character, but she's not Beverly. So that's how I land on that.
Right. So, yeah, it didn't distract me. I'll give it that. It didn't distract me.
Okay,
I thought it
wasn't
fairly
bad.
realistic.
It wasn't
bad. Wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then this is where I get kind of nuts. So it's basically like Michael sitting on the bridge of the disco, remembering the good times, remembering her friends when they were all young, and the ghosts of her past coming and hugging and reminiscing and hanging out, and everybody's just having a giant love fest the way it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I've seen that on TV shows before. I can't put my finger on one, but that seemed like, okay, we got to put a button on this. We kind of ended it already. So what do? I guess get the whole cast and have them hug goodbye. Okay. Yeah. I guess
from the transition from old Burnham to young Burnham and holding Saru's hand, I got the impression at first that like maybe we had lost Saru before this time for some reason. And like she was remembering her old and lost friends, like she was the last survivor, almost like the end of Titanic. Where I think everybody's dead, you know, sad. Spoilers.
So it's like the end of The Shining, where you see Jack in the picture from 1921.
There you go.
And Midnight, the Stars and You starts playing.
That made me think. Rennie always says about The Shining. She's like, not a scary movie. Only one person dies. Because that's what I told her before she watched it, and then she had nightmares for a week. I mean, it's only one person that dies, Scatman Carruthers, and he's funny, so I don't know. It's not.
Well, Jack dies too.
Move. Oh, does he? Oh, yeah, he freezes.
Yeah, he
freezes cryogenically frozen. I'll bring him back in The Shining too.
We're spoiling
The Shining. If you haven't read or seen The Shining, I don't know.
So yeah, but this is to me the weirdest choice. They're taking
we got Detmer and Awoshkun back.
Yeah, and they indicated that they were a couple, I believe.
Oh yeah, I kind of got that. They were happy together, which I liked. Yeah. That was a nice little nod.
Again, I don't know why they sidelined those two actors, like two of the most recognizable characters from the entire series, to just go fly off on the ISS Enterprise, never to be seen again.
I heard something about that. The Discovery was saving money by not having them in a contract that held them, and they were not available because they were doing other projects.
Oh, good for them then.
So yeah, but if they had been paid a little bit more, they would have been held and be able to have been used all season. But they weren't. But they were able to arrange it to come back for that final scene.
That's great. Yeah. So,
which Culber was not. Wilson Cruz was not there. He was put in post. If you watch it again, it's blaringly obvious.
I didn't even notice. Notice.
They do like a stand-in from behind in 2 shots, and then like they do a reverse and then it's a pulled shot from something else.
All right.
But he wasn't available. He was filming a movie, Father of the Bride or something, Mother of the Bride for Netflix.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Work is work. Wilson.
You got to get paid.
Get paid. So this is what confused me, though. They set it up so that it was the last mission for the disco. Mm-hmm. It was a red directive again. And she was taking Zora to go and become stranded around that planet for 1,000 years until it's from Calypso. Anyway.
Yeah.
And the name
Kraft.
of the character, Kraft. Thank you.
Kraft.
So to wait for Kraft. And for some reason, this is going to be important somehow, even though we never really see it. The Calypso might be one of the finest bits of Star Trek ever written. I love Calypso.
Yeah.
Beyond reason, I love Calypso. So, and it was always a continuity error because once we got to the 32nd century, they were the Disco A, and how can it be? And when did this happen? And so it's like they're retconning this little story into the series as a whole, and that's how we're going to end it. And it seemed like an odd choice to me. I think if they had never wrapped up Calypso, no one would have remembered or cared, quite frankly. I kind of like that they tried, but that's how you're going to go out with just Sonequa alone on the bridge and it coming back out. For some reason, they're taking the A off the hull and just restoring the old call letters.
Because they have to preserve the timeline.
Right, because continuity. I don't know. It didn't make much sense to me.
If they didn't take the A off, we'd all be bitching about it, so...
No, I understand. I know they got that, but again, I'm just like, why do we even care? It's like, at least if you're going to do it, give us a reason why you're saying it's just some nebulous red directive that Kovac or Daniels has sent her on.
And why does Michael have to be there to take Zora out there?
Maybe it was just like hey, because we know that this ship is now going to be stranded in orbit of a distant planet. So if she's going to have one last mission, let's have her old captain take her on it.
At the finale screening, Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradise were underlining and like making sure people understood that they did that on purpose to have the ending be the Calypso because they just wanted that to be the ending. So I think that was always part of the ending of the show. So they always had that in mind. For me, I was okay with it because I love Calypso like you do. And I think it was one of the best things they did. Okay. And it's crazy that it was a short trek and it didn't really have the cast of the show.
Yeah. Oh, when you said it was one of the best things they did, I thought that you meant it's one of the best things that they did to bring it full circle and to end the series with that. You just mean that it's one of the best short treks they did.
Right. Calypso. Yeah. I think it's the best short trek, probably that and the one with the tribbles. That was good for different reasons. You didn't like that one? The time loop one, maybe? Anyway. But yeah, so I thought it was okay. And the end where she jumps with the black alert and the spore drive. So the spore drive's still working, right? Which makes sense. But like it made me almost disappointed because like until that point I hadn't realized that, the Discovery always like spins around and then drops.
Yeah.
And that just seemed like a bad ending, like the ship's not warping away, with rainbows behind it or something. It just kind of spins around and drops, and that's the end.
But that's disco. I mean, that's been the effect since day one.
It was like a metaphor for me, like somebody dropped the ball. That's how I felt after the show, that it just dropped.
It dropped like my stomach after too much milk. Oh, I got it. Poor disco.
I got to tell you, the third time I watched this, like I was waiting for the endings to be over. Like I was like, another ending.
Yeah.
Although I did enjoy that we got to see what happened to Michael, even though I didn't want to see it because it kind of like it makes it too final. For me, it was kind of like the end of Enterprise, where they show you, okay, here's the next 20 years in the next 10 minutes. Well, it's kind of like, no, leave that to my imagination, leave that to the books, leave that for something else. I just felt, but I don't think Disco would have ever got anything else after this either way. So this was their last chance to tell the rest of the Michael Burnham story.
Yeah, I mean, they figured this. They have to go out. At least now they're setting it up so that we know that there's a Starfleet Academy that's viable. There will be, I'm sure, a Sonequa cameo in it. Mary's going to be one of the leads. So I feel like they wanted to give you an ending for these characters, but leave it where nothing is really written. You're just seeing them. To me, you're just seeing them at one specific point somewhere in their future that is probably about 30 years removed. I don't even know if they gave a super on screen as to how long it was, but
no, I don't think so.
But regardless, to me, I mean, that's just a moment. That's a snapshot.
And maybe it's only a possible future. So, I mean, you could still do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing to say that it can't end there. We just know this, that no matter what you see in Starfleet Academy, Tilly, Michael, and Book survive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It'd be nice to see Book as one of the mentors in the mentor program. Like bring Reese back, people that we like. Tig. Yeah. She's there.
I would love that. I would love it if they got Reese in as a character in that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So,
all right. So anyway, that was the end of Disco. All 5 seasons of Star Trek Discovery. Is it time for stuff before we get to our final ratings and closing thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's what's your episode crush? Episode crushes, I guess. Are we doing one from each?
Lagrange Point. I have 2. One is Maul. I know we differ, but I think she's beautiful, and I like her acting. A lot of people are on her acting and her constant movement. Like if you watch the show, she's always doing this the whole time, and it's weird. It's like she's a tweaker or something. I don't know, but I just enjoyed her in like the overall season and her storyline, and her as an actress more. Eve Harlow, I'd say my crush is, but my main crush in the episode is Jonathan Frakes.
Oh, there you go. You're such a fanboy.
What was your crush in Lagrange Point?
I don't know that I have one. It's tough. Why don't we go with Raynor? My episode crush is Raynor. No, you know who my real episode crush is? I don't even know her name. I'm just going to be lascivious. That super hot navigator that replaced Owu. She's my episode crush. I don't even know what her name is.
I did not catch their names.
Yeah, but I mean, she's in the traditional navigation station anyway. Yeah. I don't know what that is in the Disco universe now.
We're watching it, right?
Yeah. But the Chekhov spot. She's in the Chekhov spot.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it.
So she's my episode crush for Lagrange Point and for
both of them. Well, don't want to spoil that one yet.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the episode, Lagrange Point?
Lagrange Point. I really liked when the Disco crashed right through the shielding for the hangar bay on the Dreadnought. I thought that was fantastic. How about you? What was your favorite part of the episode of Lagrange Point?
I would have to say Reese and Adira being useful as part of the team and the exciting heist aspect in that part. I like that. Okay. That and the little bit of humor with the oil baths and stuff and the Thanksgiving coming up, the Breen Thanksgiving.
You just reminded me of something that I really want to ask.
Oh, yes.
Can we go on just a tiny tangent?
Sure. I love tangents. That's what this is all about.
Are there any fucking engineers on this ship? How come every time we go to engineering, it's Stamets and Ensign solving everything, and then Book like tooling around and pulling up the floorboards like R2-D2, fixing shit? Where is the crew? What is going on?
Maybe they're all Delta shift. I don't know. Maybe we're just seeing part one of the shifts.
I mean, at least put some background actors there.
Yeah, he's not even the chief engineer. So, but he's the only person we see there.
And they're always asking him, I guess, because he's the keeper of the spore drive.
He's the spore drive guy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that is
so
weird.
are they in engineering? Like, where are they? And why does everything always come down to them in that dumb room?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's no chief engineer. Do we know the chief engineer? We don't know.
Is it Jet?
I don't think so. I think she's an engineer.
All right. Who cares?
Yeah.
It just takes me out of it every time. Just like 3 people on the entire below decks. That's it. It's just those 3.
Another thing I forgot, taking me out of it, the heart-to-heart book and Burnham had while they were disguised as Breen.
Yeah. I mean, that's classic Discovery, though. I mean, we're in the middle of a dire situation. Let's have a 20-minute heart-to-heart.
So what was your favorite part of Lagrange Point? Did you say? I'm sure. No.
Oh yeah, the disco flying through the galactic barrier.
So should we go to final thoughts and ratings on Lagrange Point, or should we go to our crushes and our favorite parts of life itself?
Let's go to crushes and favorite parts of.
Okay, what was your crush for life itself? Who was your crush? What was your crush?
My crush for life itself. I hadn't even thought about this, even though I know it's on the rundown. You think I would keep better track? I should have watched it more than once.
3 times.
All right, 3 times.
I suffered for a heart.
I'm gonna say that my crush on Lagrange Point on life itself. My crush on life itself is a braided book at the wedding.
Yes, book.
I like that.
I really wanted to give it to Michael Burnham because it's a series finale, or Sonequa, but I got to go with Book. Whenever Book was on screen, he was cool. He looked like he could be like in Firefly, The Next Generation, as one of the bad guys. I don't know. I just anything David Ajala does. So I'm gonna have to give it to David.
And I feel I should qualify when I say crush. I mean, Sonequa was a perennial crush for me.
Right.
So anytime, especially these last couple of seasons, the look that they've given her. But I've always found Sonequa to be dazzling and beautiful. So she's always a baseline crush for watching disco.
Kind of like me and Beverly with Next Gen.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway.
Understood. What was your favorite part of life itself?
Life itself. The message. It was such a Star Trek message that also happened to coincide with my personal philosophy. So the idic and life itself, and just the fact that we are here being that's enough. That's the point. That's the purpose, to be. Life itself. That's the purpose.
I like it.
How about you?
Me what?
Your favorite part of the episode?
When it was finally over.
Low-hanging fruit, my friend.
Yeah, it's difficult for me. It really felt painful to watch both episodes. There was things I enjoyed in there, like little Tilly moments, Tig moment here and there, Book. But overall, it was a sense of disappointment and letdown throughout the whole thing. My favorite point. Man, if I had to pick, I would say Book and Burnham on the beach and the happy ending. If they ended it there, that would have been the perfect ending for me.
Cool.
So,
all right.
Yeah, that's got to be my favorite part. So, before we give our final thoughts and ratings, which I know everyone's waiting on the edge of their seat for, we have some trivia questions. And we have some Trek and Tells, maybe our trivia questions. Now, I was thinking about this, Chris. We have 2 episodes here, so I think we both get to answer 3 trivia questions.
Okay.
Whose turn is it to ask who?
You ask me. I feel like I asked you last time. Then I'll ask you again.
Get my red knocks out. Got a new pair, shiny new pair. Try to get one in every color and every pattern. All right. Picking it out randomly. Let's see what we got here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
In the Voyager episode, author, what does the Doctor name his holonovel?
Jesus Christ.
I did not know this one.
And do no harm.
That was good. It's actually Photons Be Free. That does sound familiar, but I didn't know it by heart.
Not a Voyager fan. Go ahead.
I live in Voyager and I didn't know it. Okay, you might get this one. In the movie The Wrath of Khan, what is the flaw in Khan's final combat strategy?
He has a pattern of two-dimensional thinking.
Very good. Yes.
Yes.
He is maneuvering reliant two-dimensionally. So yes, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, if you don't get Star Trek 2, I mean. Oh, speaking of, I think I know what I'm getting for my birthday from Rennie. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, is it going to be a screening?
Well, I think we're I don't know, but I think she got me the 4K original movie set. So with all 6 of them, and we haven't watched part 6 yet. So I think we'll watch part 6 for my birthday.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm one for 2.
Actor Colm Meaney was pleased that audiences found out what about his character Chief O'Brien in the Next Generation episode Family.
They found out about O'Brien and Family?
Family is the one that happens after.
I love Family. It's probably my favorite episode of Next Gen.
So it's something we find out about Chief O'Brien for the first time in Family. Now, I was not aware of this.
I'm gonna say that he was born in Ireland.
His first and middle name. For extra points, what are they?
Miles Edward.
Perfect. Yep, that's what it says.
Know that. I know.
So that's when we first find out the Khan's name, the Chief's name. Miles Edward O'Brien in Family. Okay. I did not know that, but now I know that. See, we're learning.
I had no idea. I mean, that's so basic. That's like saying what was special. It was the first time they said Spock's name. Oh.
Okay. What's your first name? It's unpronounceable.
Right. Spock. All right.
garbled, electronic garbled.
Right. All right. Are you ready? Are you ready for your 3?
Yes, you got me for.
I'm like, what am I? And I'm 1.5 out of 3, I think, because I did get
yeah.
Miles Edward, so I knew that. But so I'm 1.5 out
I'll
of 3.
Give you 1.5. So.
In the motion picture Star Trek Generations, whose promotion ceremony is being celebrated in the Enterprise D's holodeck?
I would say Worf.
It is Worf. And what is he being? What was his rank, and what did they promote him to?
Lieutenant Commander? Lieutenant.
It says Lieutenant Commander Worf's. So I guess was that him from going from lieutenant to lieutenant commander, or from
I believe so. Because Lieutenant Worf for all the whole series, Lieutenant Worf.
Okay, gotcha.
And then he became Lieutenant Commander.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
Upon whom does Ensign Sonia Gomez spill hot chocolate in the Next Generation episode? Q who?
Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Picard. I think Gomez was supposed to be a recurring character, right?
Yes. She did make more appearances in the comics, which is cool. Yes.
Groovy.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. I spilled coffee on more men than you, Picard.
It's hot chocolate. Thank you very much.
It's hot chocolate. That's why we don't replicate food and beverages in engineering.
I guess not. All right. Now this is going uber 80s. Are you ready?
Yes.
Name the gleaming the cube actor who managed to get a small part as a communications officer on the Excelsior in the motion picture The Undiscovered Country because his mother was the casting director.
That would be Christian Slater.
It is. And for a bonus point, do you know his mother's name?
Something Slater. Atheist Slater.
I'll give it to you. Mary Jo Slater.
Mary Jo Slater. I remember being so super psyched because I had been spoiled that he was going to appear in the movie just for a little bit. So I was excited when he came on screen because I was a big Christian Slater fan. Because I think Pump Up the Volume. That's why I'm a podcaster today, because Pump Up the Volume, I think.
Gotcha. I don't think I know much of anything in Christian Slater's oeuvre. So.
Cuffs. I would recommend Cuffs on Laserdisc.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
When I'm in Florida at a certain friend's house, I'm sure that he'll ask if I want to watch it, and I'll say no.
Didn't I sent you a picture of my collection all on the shelves, right?
Yeah, it looks good.
That was crazy, yeah. But yeah, Cuffs is really good. Cuffs, he kind of inherits the police department in a town, and he's not fit for it. So it's interesting.
Sounds like a wacky water comedy. Yep, we said that in stereo.
He's a criminal that takes over a police department. So.
Gotcha.
And then hijinks ensue. So I got 3 for 3, I think.
Yeah, you did. You got 3 for 3. I got 1.5 for 3. So you win trivia tonight.
Yay.
Trek and Tell, and I've been waiting
Trek
for
and
this.
Tell. You have a Trek and Tell?
This came on my stoop.
Ooh, I'm excited for it.
This came on my stoop weeks and weeks ago, and it's just been sitting up there. So we're going to do sort of an unboxing. So I don't know what this Trek and Tell is. Let's see what we got here. Uh-oh, it's not really open.
I want to turn the box around so I can unblur it. There you go. All right. What could it possibly be? How do you know it's a Star Trek thing?
I don't know. It's my Trek and Tell. It was sent by a mysterious stranger.
Mysterious stranger.
Oh, dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Either excitement or disappointment. I don't know. I'm trying to read the face.
Imzadi.
Imzadi.
Why would you give me a hardcover of Imzadi?
Because it's cheaper than a paperback, actually. So
now, the funny thing is, I can probably find Peter David to sign this for me because last I knew, he lived in my town.
Oh, wow.
And he used to do appearances on the same radio show that I did my The Flip Sides on. So my friend Howard knows Peter very well. So thank you, Howard. Now, Albie, not Howard. Thank you, Albie. I don't know what
after you read it,
about.
maybe you get it signed.
It looks like the Guardian on the Edge of Forever is here.
That's part of it.
So that kind of ties into disco and yo and
what's the description on the back say?
It says beardyless Riker meets old beardy Riker, and they fight over Troy. Now,
or is it a Menage a Troy? Who knows?
Imzadi, help me. Riker raced into Deanna's quarters and was horrified by the sight that greeted his eyes. Deanna was lying on the floor, convulsions shaking her. Riker to sickbay. Where's that med unit? He shouted desperately and didn't even wait for a reply as he dropped down next to the trembling counselor. His hands moved helplessly over her, and he fought down his own terror as he said, "Shh, everything's going to be okay. It's okay, Deanna." Her eyes were clouding over. He didn't even think she could see him. He had no idea what was happening to her, and even more terrifying, neither did she. Imzadi, she whispered again, her chin shaking. Please, help me. Help. I will, he said desperately. I promise I... But she didn't hear him. Her breath rattled once more in her chest, and then she was gone.
The death of Deanna Troy.
They ruined the high part of the book. Anyway, I cannot wait for the threesome scene.
Yes,
on the holodeck between these three.
Pretty hot threesome.
I mean, that's gonna, he's gonna be raw dogging it in that.
Yep.
But, anyway, and I mean in himself, not in. Thank you, Albie.
Yeah, no problem. Since we're going to be doing the next gen, and I think it's time.
So I have to read Imzadi. You tell me when I need to read Imzadi.
The sooner the better.
The sooner the better. You got it.
The sooner the better, because it really informs the Riker and Troy relationship, and everything
fact,
that. Mm-hmm.
The only other next gen book I ever read was a Peter David one.
I remembered that.
So
I figured that's why I wasn't sure if you're like, okay, that's the last Peter David book I'm going to read, or maybe Peter David. Yeah.
No, I quite liked it. There
you go. Yeah, he's good. He's very good. Very good. It's very, very easy read. Very fun read.
Cool. Thank you.
A little emotional.
You know me. I like to read. Albie,
and there's a part two.
You know me so well.
Book on the stoop. There's a sequel to it. Not as enjoyable for me as the first one, but the first one really good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
So, what's
I
your
got a little small Trek and Tell. I might have teased it a little bit earlier.
Don't sell yourself short.
Other episodes. And so this is what it is. I've shown it on camera, glimpses here and there.
Is that what you tried to bring up before? I can't really see what it is.
Christina Chong. She put out a music CD.
Is that the F You for Christmas?
Yes, and it's really good. And
she signed it.
Yeah, I got the special early collector's edition. Sweet. Something or other.
Very nice.
Like after the musical, like I went crazy trying to find like Star Trek the musical on LP, which I don't think it's out yet, which I'm shocked. It's a Star Trek the musical. How many millions of dollars would that make? Why wouldn't they put it out on vinyl?
It would make all the millions, really.
Yeah, all the money. I'd buy the poster. But yeah, and like it's small independent. Like she produced them and sent them out herself. And like on her social media, she was showing her like getting the paper in, the signing them, the putting the discs in the ending, mailing out the stuff. So she actually like besides singing and all that stuff.
You have Christina Chong's DNA. Now you can make your own Christina Chong.
Well, I thought that, but I didn't say it out loud. But yeah, she's my crush in a lot of Strange New Worlds. So
I said the quiet part out loud.
You did say the quiet part out loud. But she's unbelievably gorgeous. Like, you know, one of those people that you're like, how am I the same species as her? But wow. Okay. And the music's really good. Like it really is very well produced. She's got a beautiful voice. It was really, really cool. So one of my exciting things.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's my Trek and Tell for this episode, this short episode. So
yes, yeah, I think it's time
Let's start talking about disco. Final thoughts on disco as a whole. Let's end with that. How's that sound? Do we have anything else besides that?
I'm going to give disco as a whole 3 Vulcan goodbyes. I think that it had its moments.
That should have been the name of the episode, right?
Yeah, yeah. It had its moments. It tried to do something new. It tried to do something different. And like it or not, without disco, we wouldn't have this new era of shows that we're currently watching. There might have been another type of Star Trek show. There might have been, but disco is what brought us Strange New Worlds. It's what paved the way for things like Lower Decks. It's what I just feel like we owe a debt to disco. Even if disco itself is flawed, it's a foundational moment in Trek history, in the franchise. So yeah, I'm going to give it 3 for that, for its place in the legacy. Even though I wasn't crazy about a lot of it, it's still important to the history of Trek.
Do you have individual ratings for each the last 2 episodes, penultimate?
Yeah, I would have to say this, even though, again, I couldn't, for whatever reason, bring myself even to the thought of watching them again. I really did like Lagrange Point. So I'm going to give that, we're going to give that 4 ramming speeds out of 5.
Oh, 4.
And as far as life itself, a little too much fighting, a little too long, but the message itself was spot on Trek. It was like quintessential Trek, and I loved the conclusion that it came to. So I'm going to give it 3 Idix out of 5.
Okay, 3 Idix out of 5. See, you've really helped me because, like, watching the finale 3 times, the 2-part finale 3 times, I was in a lot of pain. I suffered. But I think when you explained the whole message in the final episode that I wasn't quite catching on to just because of my discomfort, I think, I appreciate it more. So you might have kicked up that mark a little bit for me.
Oh, good. Glad to help. Or I'm sorry. Whichever one is more apropos for you.
My final thoughts on disco as a whole. Here, I wrote this down because I wanted to be a little bit more specific. I am part of one other group where,
how dare you?
The other community I'm part of, they named their last double disco All Bad Things. How does it work? Oh, I got a comment back. Anyway, so I wrote this down. I'm part of another fandom, and this was my. They always ask for feedback, so I left this. The long nightmare is finally over. I feel like watching disco may be considered self-harm. I've watched the final 2 episodes 3 times now. I feel like an AI-generated clickbait article is more well-written than this. I feel the actors, directors, and designers, costumers, makeup, hair, music, sound, and on did the best they could with what they were given. I feel that Alex Kurtzman and Michelle Paradise completely the bed with Discovery. Nothing but non-connected story, false starts, and unmotivated word salads. They had every talent and tool at their fingertips and produced nothing but missed opportunities and disappointment. So
Oofa.
that's my overall feeling for disco.
Holy crap! All bad things, huh?
All bad things. All bad things. I don't know this. I think at some point we need like a Chaos on the Bridge documentary for what happened with disco, because I know showrunners, show creators got changed up, and then like after season 1 or 2, was it that the showrunners got fired for being abusive towards the staff, and everything. And then you have Michelle Paradise. So I don't want to blame Michelle Paradise, because I think she was a person in the room, a warm body, and they said, "Do you want to be a showrunner?" And she was like, "Okay." Like she's worked on other shows before that were good, so I don't understand. But I feel like whoever runs Paramount, right, says, "Okay, we need that Star Wars or Star Trek show, something. We got that, right? You make that, right?" And they don't know or care, right? As long as they're making episodes and they're getting views, they don't know or care. Then you have Alex Kurtzman. He's kind of running the new Star Trek verse, right? I feel since the other shows are so good compared to disco, that he has to have some sort of control over it. But then now in the last few seasons, we've had Michelle Paradise as a showrunner with Alex Kurtzman. But I really feel like they're making a show to, it's hard to say. They're making the show because that's their job. And their job is to be hired to write the episodes, get them out, people watch them, views, but they're not making Star Trek. They haven't grown up as a kid their whole life watching Star Trek, enjoying Star Trek, being immersed in the universe. Because for them, it's a 9 to 5 or whatever they do. It's their job to write scripts, to get to the next episode, whereas Star Trek fans, their whole life, not their whole life, but a big part of their life is watching Star Trek and getting involved in it and absorbing it and feeling it. Our stories are real in a universe far away, in a time in the future. And like you get that with who is it? Akiva Goldsman, right? Who does Strange New Worlds. He was originally on disco before he got Strange New Worlds. I think he was partly responsible of the Pike and the Spock stuff going into disco. Because that's what he wanted to do originally. And he's doing a great job with Strange New Worlds. It's very Star Trek. It's very, because he's been a Star Trek fan since he was a little kid his whole life. Loves it. So I don't know who to blame, and I want to see that documentary of the new Chaos on the Bridge for Discovery, because I don't want to blame anybody, but there had to be someone in charge that was seeing these scripts and producing these episodes that didn't know or care what they were doing. It just seems like the bed, dropping the ball. Somebody has to be responsible. I don't know who it is, but I think everybody working on the show, for the most part, did a really good job. I just think the stories and the writing wasn't there, and it's very disappointing.
Yeah, no, it is. I guess maybe one of the standards we might be able to employ here, and I don't know if it's fair, but it's accurate. Had this not been, quote, Star Trek, would you have stuck with it for 5 seasons? And for me, the answer is a resounding no. No, but it's Trek, so you want to stay up on the franchise, you want to stay up on the universe, you want to know what you don't know. You want to see that 32nd century. You want to see the story continue, and what's this new iteration. And one thing, like all bad things, you say, I think that it did steadily improve somewhat in finding its footing as to what it wanted to be. That turned out to be different things almost every season. It's a victim of current streaming TV and the mystery box trope. So that limits it as well. And I think it's also just us and our 90s Trek sensibility in many ways. We want to see what we loved, and they don't make it like that anymore. So you're not going to get, well, I mean, I think Strange New Worlds has its moments, but there are things about Strange New Worlds that annoy the crap out of me too. So,
and we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But
I'm head over heels for Strange New Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, on the whole, I like it, But that being said, I'm not giving disco a pass. I'm not being a disco apologist. I probably will reluctantly have to watch disco again at some point if I'm going to continue with this chronological rewatch. But it's a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift.
I had a thought on this, and this was watching the finale for the third time. Was our goal right now is to do all these Star Trek episodes ever. So I say we wait for the first 4 seasons of Disco until we've exhausted every other series completely, and we have nothing new.
Well, we have to do the first 4 seasons of Disco
Eventually, but here's the silver lining.
Let's
Hopefully
wait
we
until
die
like,
before then.
that, or we're senile and we really love it.
Yeah, or we've matured enough to understand what they were trying to do.
Or this is what we've done. We're living virtually and we've just spun off 2 AI avatars of our virtual consciousness to do the show. And that's their job while you and I are having fun doing something else.
It's possible.
Right? So that's what I think, right?
Yeah, in 5 years, we'll be able to just outsource this and watch what we would have said. I like that.
Yep. Right. Well, it's still us. It's just, it's that iteration of us.
So it's a win-win, right? So if we do the other 900 episodes of Star Trek or whatever it is, before we go back to Disco at the very end, one, we could die before we get there.
Mm-hmm.
Win, right? We don't have to watch Disco again. Or we're still alive as really, really old men. Win. Right?
It's a Kai win.
Yeah, there you go. Kai win. All right. So for my ratings, and I gave episode 9, which is Lagrange Point, I gave it 3 primordial black holes in a binary system.
Wow. Yes. Sexy.
Yeah. Tilly. I like Tilly a little bit in this episode. Underused. For 5/10, I'm going to give it, I have to give it less than a 3 because I like 9 better. So I'm going to go with 2.5. I hadn't figured this out yet. I'm gonna go with 2.5 beeswax in a cup of coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But 2.5. And that's me being as generous as I can be with the finale.
All right. So take that, Zora.
I'm glad it's over. I'm glad we're going back to the beginning of Star Trek and starting over. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're doing next, Chris?
Oh, well, next, we're going to be continuing our normal TNG recaps with Justice. Ooh, long promised. We've been promising that for years and years and years.
I'm so excited. I'm going to watch it a 4th time.
And as we had indicated in our Captain's Roundtable with Captain Charles, we're going to be starting from the beginning. So get ready to see some green Susan Oliver, because it is time for our review of The Cage. The Cage will be reviewed on our Patreon site. That will be for members of our Treksplorers community. You too can join the community by going to patreon.com/Treksploration. You can see all of the tiers that we have available there and gain access to all of the bonus content. You can also find us on Instagram at Treksploration Pod, X us at Treksploration, email us at treksplorationpod@gmail.com, call us on the phone at 707-847-6682, and drop us a line, P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York 11705. So we
you're good at that.
look forward
You're so
to
good
hearing.
At
Well, yeah, I've done it before a couple of times. I really want to hear from everybody about what your final thoughts on not only this season wrap up, but Disco as a whole is. I think that we could probably do a whole bonus special with people's thoughts about Disco, because I have a feeling it can be polarizing. You know, a lot of times we hear nothing but the negative about it. We're kind of guilty of perpetrating that as well. But
I gotta be honest,
I'd really love to hear. I'd love to hear from like what I consider like you, Albie, or my friend Neek. Like it baffles me how you love Voyager so much, but you do. Mm-hmm. So I want to hear from those Disco fans. It baffles us that you love Disco so much, but why? Tell us why. Tell us why you love Disco and why you're bawling your eyes out, wearing sackcloth and ashes that it's over. That's the ones that we want to hear from. We want to hear your point of view as well. So all those places that I told you can get us, but the main place is patreon.com/Treksplorers.
Yeah.
So,
and I think missing from social media, like I'm in a lot of social media groups for different Star Trek groups and stuff, and I think something missing that you normally get with the end of a season or series or something is like people missing it and people saying, "Oh, it was great," and the internet was silent. At least my bubble of the internet was silent. And I'm not in like post groups or hate groups for Star Trek. I'm in only positive things about Star Trek and only positive things about disco and stuff like that, and just silence.
Yeah, the consensus among my friends at that Star Trek podcast. Again, I mentioned Neek earlier. Mm-hmm. I think she kind of nailed it. She was just like, "It's going to end. Okay, that's fine."
Yeah, and that's how I really feel.
Yeah,
and like Captain Charles said, what might have been missed opportunities.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
They had everything. They had the money, they had the effects, they had the talent, they had the artists. They just didn't have the stories. And Star Trek, when it comes down to it, is about good storytelling. And that's just what this was missing.
Well, they still had a successful run. I mean, 5 seasons of anything is not to sneeze at.
That's true. I'll give them an A+ for diversity
yeah.
and representation. I think that was the thing I like most about Discovery, is that people, no matter who they are, can probably find themselves in one of the characters on the show, which is very important. I just wish
as long as that character is Michael Burnham.
I just wish it had the storytelling capabilities and abilities to make better use of all those wonderful people that worked so hard on the show. So, any final thoughts before I kick it?
Kick it.
Oh, I had an idea. And since we're starting the original series, the animated series, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, Enterprise, all the good ones, the ones I like. I think the first few episodes of each of those series, I think we should give out for free, right? Not behind a paywall, so people can see what we're doing. How's that sound?
Yeah,
is that good? Like a little gift to our listeners that's traveled with us this far?
You're the showrunner. You do as you will, sir.
All right. Hopefully I don't go to bed.
Oh, that ship has sailed. Have you seen us?
That's true. Have you seen us? Have you seen us? Chris, what do you say you and me just do this for the rest of our lives? You, me, and Grudge.
Sure. Sounds like a plan. I have to get a more comfortable chair. That's all I'm saying.
Ooh, I'll send you one. Check the stoop in the morning.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
For Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time.
In a better chair.